We ready? I'm going for it. Good evening. The May 20th, 2024 legislative session of the Anne Arundel County Council is called to order. Please ensure all phones and electronic devices are set to silence. Ms. Hummer is handling invocation and the Pledge of Allegiance today. Ms. Hummer?
Yes. It is my pleasure this evening to have Pastor John Lacombe from Odenton Baptist Church to present the invocation tonight. If everyone would please rise.
Heavenly Father, we come before your throne and we thank you, Father, for your goodness. Father, we're thankful for the county that we live in. We're thankful, Father, for the opportunity to live in a democracy such as this where we can gather together and express our concerns, our agreements, and our disagreements. And Father, as we consider this evening, Father, we're thankful, but we're also burdened. We're thankful for the prosperity that we see happening in Anne Arundel County. We're also burdened because of so many different voices that dissent from one another. And this evening, as we see those voices expressed, we pray for discernment. We pray, Father, for these council members to have wisdom to make the decisions that are going to be best for our county and for the people of our county. Father, I pray for the members that are gathered here to express their concerns. Father, I pray that the council members would give heed and that you would allow us not to have a stone heart, but an open heart to listen and to comprehend. We're thankful for the work of our risen Savior, Jesus Christ, and we pray all these things in his name. Amen. Amen.
Pledge. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Thank you. Madam Secretary, please read the ethics statement.
The Ethics Commission has asked that I advise you that under certain circumstances, members of the public may qualify as lobbyists when they testify before the County Council. If so, the law requires that certain information be filed with the Ethics Commission. The Chair of the Ethics Commission has asked that those who wish to testify in any form review the general information on lobbying sheet located on the Ethics website under Forms and Publications. If there are any questions about lobbying requirements, please contact the Ethics Commission at 410-222-4412.
Thank you. Before we open our discussions and public hearings, I would like to remind everyone in attendance, whether testifying or a member of the audience, we must maintain decorum at all times. Please know individual conversations in the audience are very disruptive to the proceedings, and I would kindly ask you to step out of the chambers if a side discussion is necessary. We will now open our invitation to audience. This is an opportunity to speak briefly on any subject not included on the printed agenda. Madam Secretary, did we receive any testimony through the online testimony tool?
Yes, Madam Chair, we received 10 pieces that were submitted, but 7 were related to Bill number 2724, so they were added to that section. They have been shared with the Council, added to the record, and posted to the website.
Thank you. We will now call on individuals who signed up ahead of the meeting. When I call your name, please come up to the table and have a seat. When it is your turn, state your name and address for the record. Remarks will be limited to 2 minutes. Please listen for the buzzer and respect the 2-minute time limit as others are signed up to speak. If you have more than 2 minutes to share, I'm going to ask you to submit your additional thoughts using our online testimony tool. I do have 5 individuals signed up for invitation to audience. However, I do want to note that 3 appear to have remarks geared towards the Region 4 plan, which will be taken up in a separate public hearing. So if that is what your invitation to audience remarks are meant for, I would ask you to stay seated until those public hearings are later in this evening. Leisha Self, Dan Snyder, David Wilson, and Kurt Svensson, and Amy Leahy. Those are the 5 folks signed up for invitation to audience. If you're here, you may come forward. Oh, I see. These individuals may be out in the waiting area. Can we bring them in?
Madam Chair,
Oh, in the security line. Okay. Ms. Rodvian.
could I suggest a motion to take invitation to audience out of order in tonight's agenda?
We could try that.
I move to take our...
Well, hold on, because we have, those are the folks that have just signed up in advance, so. Oh, okay. Is there anyone currently in the audience that has any testimony for this portion of the meeting, which is invitation to audience, things not printed on the current agenda? Yeah, we could come back. Do we need a motion to do that? Can we do? Okay, go ahead.
Madam Chair, I'd like to make a motion to suspend the rules and take our invitation to audience portion of our agenda after Bill...
After constant yield.
After the constant yield hearing.
Ledbetter, second.
Madam Secretary, please call the roll on the motion to move the invitation to audience portion of this meeting until following the constant yield public hearing.
Ms. Rodvian.
Aye.
Ms. Ledbetter.
Aye.
Mr. Smith.
Aye.
Mr. Volkey.
Aye.
Ms. Hummer.
Aye.
Ms. Fiedler.
Aye.
Ms. Pickard.
Aye.
7 in the affirmative, none in the negative. The motion to hold the public hearing for invitation to audience after we do the real property tax constant yield hearing has been approved.
Can I ask that we have someone look in the lobby for these individuals? I know we just did this. Is there any item any council member would like to place on the agenda at this time?
Item's not on the agenda. Moment of personal privilege.
Sure.
Madam Chair. Thank you, I appreciate that. I just wanted to take a moment of personal privilege this evening. I represent the district where Animal Care and Control is located and have had the pleasure of seeing the great work the Friends of Animal Care and Control has done under the leadership of Ms. Robin Catlett. I know that our army of volunteers, who are the backbone of that organization, are feeling very raw emotions from the sudden departure of Ms. Catlett. I'm still pretty shocked myself, and I share in your disappointment and concern over what I'm hearing transpired, and I will do all that I can to get answers to the questions regarding her departure. I have always enjoyed working with Ms. Catlett and found her to go above and beyond for the animals in her care, the staff, and her volunteers, and I just want to publicly thank her for 13 years of service to our county.
Thank you. May I have a motion that the partial reading of any bill, resolution, amendment to a bill or resolution, or minutes constitutes the reading of the whole?
Second.
All in favor? Aye. Opposed? The motion carries. Madam Secretary, please read the minutes of May 6th, 13th, 14th, 15th, and 16th, 2024.
The minutes of May 6, 2024. The County Council meeting was called to order by Chair Pickard at 7 p.m. It was opened with the invocation given by Mr. Volkey and was followed by the Pledge of Allegiance. The meeting was held in the County Council chambers in Annapolis, Maryland. Minutes for May 13, 2024. The County Council meeting was called to order by Chair Pickard at 9:07 a.m. The meeting was held in the County Council chambers in Annapolis, Maryland. There were approximately 10 persons in the audience. Minutes for May 14th, 2024. The County Council meeting was called to order by Chair Pickard at 9:06 a.m. The meeting was held in the County Council chambers in Annapolis, Maryland. There were approximately 20 persons in the audience. Minutes for the budget public hearing on May 15th, 2024. The County Council meeting was called to order by Chair Pickard at 7 p.m. It was opened with an invocation given by Ms. Rodby, and it was followed by the Pledge of Allegiance. The meeting was held at Linthicum Elementary School, Linthicum Heights, Maryland. Minutes of May 16th, 2024. The County Council meeting was called to order by Chair Pickard at 9 a.m. The meeting was held virtually for our budget presentations.
May I have a motion to approve the minutes of May 6th, May 13th, 14th, 15th, and 16th, 2024?
So moved.
Is there a second?
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? The motion carries. The minutes of May 6th, 13th, 14th, 15th, and 16th, 2024 stand approved as read. Madam Secretary, please read the titles of the bills to be introduced this evening.
Bill number 5424, an emergency ordinance concerning current expense budget, fourth quarter fund transfer, and supplementary appropriations. Bill number 5524, an emergency ordinance concerning current expense budget, Board of Education supplementary appropriation and transfer of funds. Bill number 5624, an ordinance concerning conveyance of surplus property, improved county-owned property known as 100 Summit Avenue in Glen Burnie, Maryland. Bill number 5724, an ordinance concerning zoning, critical area overlay, resource conservation area, agritourism farm or agricultural heritage site special events, and farm or agricultural heritage site stays.
Madam Secretary, please read the titles of the resolutions to be introduced this evening.
Resolution number 2324, resolution proposing an amendment to the Charter of Anne Arundel County to allow a member of the County Board of Appeals to serve up to 3 consecutive terms.
Thank you. We will now welcome our Budget Officer, Chris Trumbauer, for the real property tax rate public hearing. Mr. Trumbauer?
Thank you, Madam Chair, members of the council. Before I begin my prepared remarks, just a little technical note that the council is used to in past years hearing a presentation on the constant yield. The state legislature back in 2023 passed Senate Bill 114, which was passed into law, and that no longer requires a constant yield hearing, but now requires a public hearing if the real property tax rate is proposed to have any increase from the prior year. So that's what I'll be speaking on tonight. Good evening, Madam Chair, members of the County Council. For the record, I am Chris Trumbauer, County Budget Officer. Thanks for the opportunity to kick off tonight's FY25 property tax rate hearing. State law provides that if a local taxing authority intends to establish a real property tax rate greater than that of the current taxable year, it must advertise and hold a public hearing. An advertisement was placed by this County Council in the local newspaper, which adheres to the procedures required by state law and was reviewed and approved by the State Department of Assessment and Taxation. Anne Arundel County's current real property tax rate per $100 of taxable assessment for FY 2024 are 98.0 cents for the county, excluding Annapolis and Highland Beach, 58.6 cents for City of Annapolis, and 95.0 cents for the town of Highland Beach. In accordance with the county's property tax revenue cap, the county executive has proposed the FY25 real property tax rate to be 98.3 cents per $100 of assessment for the county, excluding the City of Annapolis and Highland Beach. This rate is 0.3% higher than the current rate of 98.0 cents. Additionally, the FY25 county tax rate applicable to the City of Annapolis real property is proposed at 58.7 cents per $100 of assessment. This rate is 0.2% higher than the current rate of 58.6 cents. And finally, for the town of Highland Beach, the FY25 county real property tax rate increases to 98.3 cents per $100 of assessed value in the proposed budget. This proposed rate is 0.3% more than the constant yield tax rate of 95.0 cents. As required by law, this public hearing has been scheduled. Thank you and good evening.
Thank you. The County Council will set the property tax rate for Anne Arundel County, the City of Annapolis, and the Town of Highland Beach at its meeting beginning at 10 a.m. on Friday, June 14th, 2024. This will be done via Bill number 48-24, which was introduced as part of the FY25 budget package. While we are holding a public hearing this evening as required by state law, comments on Bill number 48-24 and the property tax rate will continue to be accepted all month using the online testimony tool. We will also hold our second public hearing on the FY25 budget this Wednesday at 7 p.m. here in our council chambers. We will now open the public hearing on the real property tax rate. Madam Secretary, do we have any testimony received from the members of the public?
No, Madam Chair, we do not.
We will now call on individuals who signed up ahead of this meeting. When I call your name, please come up to the table and have a seat. When it is your turn, state your name and address for the record. Remarks will be limited to 2 minutes. Please listen for the buzzer and respect the 2-minute time limit as others are signed up to speak. If you have more than 2 minutes to share, I'm going to ask you to submit your additional thoughts using our online testimony tool. I have 2 individuals, Ms. Faith Loudon and Mary Grace Fitzhenry. Are you in the chambers this evening? You may come forward at this time. We do have 4 other seats. If there are other individuals that want to testify at this time, you can come up as well. Ms. Loudon?
I need to pull it closer. It's okay. I live in Lake Shore. I honestly think we pay plenty taxes already. I really feel, forgive me, that the county should figure out ways to watch their budget, be more careful how they spend their money, and I think it's important that we not raise the taxes. People are really complaining about this already, and it's going to get worse. As a matter of fact, we have 2 busloads here tonight, and we are not for the property tax increase.
Ms. Fitzhenry?
Hi, do you want me to, state my name, everything, for the record? Cool. Mary Grace Fitzhenry. I am here on behalf of the Anne Arundel County Association of Realtors. Our address is 1521 Ritchie Highway, Arnold, Maryland, 21012. I just wanted to testify, well, not even testify, I just wanted to talk some numbers, I guess. So we all know that when our housing prices increase, we're also going to have that tax assessed value increase as well with that, which will go, hand in hand with raising our property taxes. Just to compare some numbers, the average sold price back in April 2019, was $403,000, and then in April of 23, it was $607,000. The average sold in April of 2019 for townhouses with 2 or less bedrooms, which are the most affordable option. In April of 2019, that number was $252,000, and in April of 2023, that number is, April 2024, by the way, that number is now $399,000. That is a huge increase, and with those increases, our salaries are not going up. The average salary of every person in Anne Arundel County is not going up, but our housing affordability crisis is through the roof right now. So I just, those numbers are important, I think, for everyone to keep in mind for the hearing next month as well. And when we have the increase in property taxes, especially during a housing affordability crisis that we see right now, it's increasing the closing costs because those property taxes are included in the closing cost numbers. And raising any tax on real estate makes housing less affordable right now. One more thing is the high tax burdens can play a major factor in whether our buyers get priced out of the market.
Thank you. Is there anyone else who wishes to talk at this time on the real property tax public hearing? The public hearing on the property tax rate is now closed. At this time, we'll go back to the invitation to audience, as I see some of our folks that had signed up are now in the chambers. Find that list again. Do we have, I will remind everyone that this invitation to audience portion of our meeting is for things not currently on the printed agenda. So if these 5 people are now in the, or any of these 5 people are now in the chambers, Leisha Self, Dan Snyder, David Wilson, Kurt Svensson, and Amy Leahy, please come forward to the table at this time. Good evening, you have the floor. 2 minutes.
Thank you. Kurt Svensson, Arnold, Maryland. I'm here to call everyone's attention to a serious inconsistency in the treatment of public testimony. Because I submitted tonight's testimony by 11 a.m. this morning, it's included in the online meeting information packet, so the public can see it during and after tonight's meeting. However, the online testimony I submitted for last Wednesday night's hearing on the budget has not been made available for my fellow citizens to see, nor has any of the other testimony, which I would like to read. This is not a one-off mistake. The same thing happened last year. The county council administrator at the time told me that public testimony is not finalized and published until after the submission tool is closed on the last day of budget deliberations. Obviously, this greatly diminishes the effectiveness of such testimony by keeping it in the dark until the budget process is over. I was assured my testimony was sent to all county council members as soon as I submitted it. Well, I've got a message for you all. It's not all about you. The very essence of a public hearing is its publicness. Norman Rockwell's painting entitled Freedom of Speech got it right. It depicts a gentleman standing in a public meeting. He's addressing a governing body, but Rockwell's insight was to draw attention to his fellow citizens in the audience listening to him make a point. The governing body is purposefully not even shown in this painting. It's nice to know my budget testimony has become part of the public record. But why can't the public have ready access to it? Thank you.
Thank you. This is the business meeting of the county council, and that is not appropriate. Okay, we're gonna run through this meeting with decorum, please.
Madam Chair, just if I may.
You may.
Just one quick comment. The Citizen Share website that Mr. Svensson put together, it's a really good site and tool. So if you have not had the opportunity to visit his site, please grab him before he leaves and get the URL. But it does make perusing through the budget a little bit more simplistic. So thank you for putting it together. Thanks.
The invitation to audience portion of this hearing is now closed. Oh, goodness. Here we go. Madam Secretary, I know I'm all out of whack here. We did that. Thank you. Madam Secretary, please read the title of Bill number 24-24.
Bill number 2424, an ordinance concerning current expense budget, third quarter fund transfer, and supplementary appropriations.
This is a county executive bill. Mr. Hunt, when your team is assembled, you have the floor.
Thank you, Madam Chair. Ethan Hunt for the administration. With me at the table, I have Stephen Thoreau from the Budget Office. I believe Ms. Kenny from the Office of Law is on her way up. So this bill was discussed at the last council meeting. It transfers appropriations of funds between different offices and departments and agencies in the general fund, and also makes supplementary appropriations from unanticipated revenues to the grant special fund for the current fiscal year. At the last council meeting, we amended out the supplementary appropriation to the Board of Ed, and we are happy to answer any questions.
Is there any discussion of my colleagues regarding Bill 24-24 at this time? Seeing none, we'll now open the public hearing on Bill number 24-24. Madam Secretary, did we receive any testimony through the online testimony tool?
No, Madam Chair, we did not.
From my notes, I don't believe we had anybody sign up ahead of time. We will now call on individuals who did not sign up, but might be in the audience wanting to testify on Bill number 24-24. Please come up to the table, state your name and address for the record, at which time you'll have 2 minutes to testify. Seeing no movement, the public hearing on Bill number 24-24 is now closed. Madam Secretary, please read the title of Bill number 24-24.
Bill number 2424, an ordinance concerning current expense budget, third quarter fund transfer, and supplementary appropriations.
Did the administration or my colleagues have anything else to add on Bill 24-24? Oh, Ms. Rodvian.
Thank you. This is really for the benefit of the public attending this evening's meeting or anyone watching online. If it sounds like we're not interested or not asking any questions, it's because we had an extensive discussion on this bill at our last work session. So we've had an opportunity to ask all of our questions, and that may be the case with other bills this evening. So don't worry, we are doing our due diligence.
Thank you. Seeing no other movement, Madam Secretary, please call the roll on Bill number 24-24.
Ms. Rodvian.
Aye.
Ms. Ledbetter.
Aye.
Mr. Smith.
Aye.
Mr. Volkey.
Aye.
Ms. Hummer.
Aye.
Ms. Fiedler.
Aye.
Ms. Pickard.
Aye.
7 in the affirmative, none in the negative. Bill number 2424 is passed.
Madam Secretary, please read the title of Bill number 29-24.
Bill number 2924, an ordinance concerning zoning coffee roasters.
Mr. Volkey, this is your bill. You have the floor.
Thank you. Well, first, I want to say welcome to Annapolis, Pasadena, because you're all here. Yeah. District 3 in the house. All right. So in addition to what we're going to talk about in a little while about the Region 4 plan, et cetera, this is another really important bill tonight, and I am thrilled to be able to bring this bill. So this came out of a constituent reaching out to me and saying, hey, I know this person and they want to open up a coffee roaster business. I said, that sounds cool. Okay, we need that in Pasadena. And it's going to be, here's a shameless plug, at the old Lucky's at the intersection of Mountain Road and Outing Avenue right there. So in a minute, Sheila's going to come up and she'll testify about it. But you couldn't do it. She reached out to the Office of Planning and Zoning. She tried to get this moving forward, and they said, we don't have anything called coffee roasting in the county code. The best that we have is a coffee shop. So you can open a coffee shop, and then you can sell some beans on top of it. She goes, I don't want to open a coffee shop. I just want to sell the coffee that's been roasted. And so that led to this bill. And I want to thank the folks in Planning and Zoning who helped me through in terms of putting this together. I want to thank you for coming out. And in a minute, we're going to hear, we got a lot of public testimony on this. Over the weekend, I want to apologize to my colleagues. You heard about two things, the Region 4 bill and coffee roasters. And one of my colleagues even said to me, they were like, I have to meet this lady that everybody's talking about because she sounds like a saint. And I said, yeah, she does. So I can't wait for everybody to hear from her. But with that, this bill basically creates the definition of a coffee roaster in our county code, and it allows it to go in certain locations, one of which is at the old Lucky's at the intersection of Mountain Road and Outing. So I am thrilled to see Magathy Coffee Roasters coming in there, and we should hopefully pass this bill. But with that, I ask for my colleagues' support. Thank you.
Does the administration have anything to add regarding Bill 29-24?
I'd just like to thank the sponsor for working with the Office of Planning and Zoning to develop this bill. As someone who drinks coffee by the gallon, I think it's great. So we support it. Thank you.
Are there any questions of my colleagues before we open the public hearing? Okay, we will now open the public hearing on Bill 29-24. Madam Secretary, did we receive any testimony through the online testimony tool?
Yes, Madam Chair, we received 90 pieces of written testimony, which was shared with the council, added to the record, and posted to the website.
I see we did have one individual sign up ahead of time. We will now call on individuals to come forward to the table and have a seat. When it is your turn, state your name and address for the record. I have Sheila Schreiner, and if anyone else would like to join her, there are 5 other seats at this time. There you go.
Okay. Can you hear me?
We can.
Hi, everybody. I'm Sheila. Thank you for allowing me the opportunity to speak. I'm the owner of Magathy Roasting Company. I'm a local artisan roaster located on Mountain Road in Pasadena, Maryland. I purchased a property last November for my roasting company in a revitalization area in hopes to bring life back into a stale community Since I purchased the property, I found 4 tenants to help fill the space to help our community thrive. All the owners of these businesses are here to help support me and Magothy Roasting Company. They were supposed to be here, and I think they're in line outside, all 4 of them, I think, unless they're here. Anyway, the reason I'm here today, as well as all of those who were able to show up, is because coffee roasting doesn't exist in any type of code under planning and zoning. I have been told by them that I could open a coffee shop and roast under that guise. However, at this stage in my life, I really don't want to open up a coffee shop. Maybe down the road. After months of kicking the can down the road, I was told to get in touch with Nathan Volke, our councilman for 3rd District for Anne Arundel County. Nathan was quick to respond and told me the facts, and eventually we would get a hearing, which brings us here today. I would respectfully ask that each of you would consider changing the code for Anne Arundel County to allow me to roast on my property. This is going to be a wonderful opportunity to work with my tenants who are already established and improve the community, as well as provide jobs in the area and add additional revenue to the county. Magothy Roasting Company is waiting on approval to move forward. We have been moving forward and need this to pass so we can continue to operate.
Thank you. Are any of Ms. Schreiner's 4 friends, did they make it into the chambers? Okay. The public hearing on Bill 29-24 is now closed. Madam Secretary, please read the title of Bill number 29-24.
Bill number 2924, an ordinance concerning zoning coffee roasters.
Is there any discussion with my colleagues? Seeing none, Madam Secretary, please call the roll on Bill 29-24.
Ms. Rodbian.
Aye.
Ms. Ledbetter.
Aye.
Mr. Smith.
Aye.
Mr. Volke.
Aye.
Ms. Hummer.
Aye.
Ms. Fiedler.
Aye.
Ms. Pickard.
Aye.
7 in the affirmative, none in the negative. Bill number 2924 is passed.
And those of us that are addicted to coffee will look forward to stopping by when you're open. I'm going to need a cup to get through tonight or 2, so thank you. We're going to move on to Bill number 30-24. Madam Secretary, please read the title of Bill 30-24.
Bill number 3024, an ordinance concerning zoning, planned unit developments, community, and employment.
Mr. Smith, this is your legislation. You have the floor.
Thank you, Madam Chair. So this bill was in reference to an issue that has been brewing in District 1 for the last, no pun intended, with the brewing. You got coffee on my mind. The last 8 years with a rubble landfill that exists up near Brooklyn Park. It is a huge mountain that exists there right now. And so over the years, a number of different variations of what was going to take place with that property transpired. In fact, at one point, the county had proposed to purchase the land. That kind of fell through. So now the county, along with the residents of Pumphrey's, has entered into sort of an agreement of what they think the land should transpire on the land. And so this PUD was an attempt to remediate and to gain access to what the citizens believed should happen on that property. The administration worked diligently over the last probably, I would say, year as well, certainly the last a few months, working on language that can assist with making that a reality. So we entered into an agreement that allows us to have some park space, a parcel of that property, so that it's not all residential. There's a little W2 or W1 that's also intermixed on there because it's all residential, and the capacity up there is for residential is too much, but we still want to create those opportunities for housing as well. So this was a blended use, which led us to this PUD. I am going to ask when the time is appropriate to amend this legislation with some definitions that we're going to come back and add to it. So just want you all to be aware of that so that we can make sure organizations like GAN, who has been reviewing a lot of the legislation that we do when it comes to land utilization, is done in an appropriate way. This piece of legislation I did also forward to the Region 1 small area team that's reviewing all of the parcels right now. So they have had this as soon as we it was dropped. And so looking forward to more conversations with them. But I think we've reached a consensus point. We will ask for it to be delayed when the time is right so we can create an amendment. But short of that, that's why I brought it forward, so we can move the needle on housing while at the same time also remediating that. If you've never been over there off of, I was going to say Mountain Road, still got the coffee shop in my head. Belgrove Road, it's the Belgrove Road project. There's a huge mountain over there that some of the citizens believe may even have environmental issues. And so the fact that we'll be able to remediate that with this, I'm certainly a fan of that. And most importantly, the community led on this issue. They and their opinions are what pushed us to where we are right now. And so that was the biggest thing that I was happy about over the last few months when I got their consensus on what should happen on that property. So other than that, thank you, Madam Chair.
Would the administration like to speak on Bill 30-24?
Certainly. Thank you, Madam Chair. I do want to thank the sponsor for working with the Office of Planning and Zoning and the administration over the last year and a half to develop this bill. In addition to the great work that he mentioned this bill accomplishes, it does do a couple of other important things as well. So it makes some amendments to Article 18 related to the planned unit developments, and updates and removes some outdated requirements, and it also provides more flexibility in development and provides for a wider range of uses. So it does two things. It establishes two types of PUDs, community PUDs and employment PUDs in place of the current one that's currently in the code. A community PUD is intended for a development that is to be predominantly a residential community, and it's therefore allowed in residential zoning districts, but it also allows some commercial uses that would support a residential community. The development must include at least two different dwelling types of either single-family townhome or multifamily dwellings, but there are no specific percentage requirements for any one dwelling type, which is something that is in the current code. And there's also no requirement that single-family dwellings must be included, which is something that's in the current code. The second PUD, the employment PUD, is intended for a development that wants to include a greater amount of employment uses, along with some residential uses, and therefore allows for a wider range of commercial and light industrial uses. It's allowed in C2, C3, and W1 districts within the BWI Fort Meade growth area. And so this expands current code allowances for PUDs in non-residential areas to include the W1 district. An employment PUD must include residential uses that comprise at least 30% of the developed floor area and must include at least one non-residential use, but it is not required to include two different dwelling types. As in all cases, PUD remains a special exception use and requires approval of the administrative hearing officer. I'll also add it's important to note that it does not allow either type of PUD in the RA, RLD, or R1 districts. Currently, PUDs are allowed in these districts as a special exception, but because of other land use policies and other constraints, development of a PUD in these zoning areas is not really practical. And other than that, we're happy to answer any questions, or if Ms. Miller has anything else she would like to add. Okay.
Are there any questions from my colleagues on Bill 30-24 at this time? Mr. Smith?
I was going to ask, is it also appropriate to hold a public hearing for when I have the amendment here in 2 weeks, or did you still want to, do you think it's appropriate to still do that?
We have to hold the public hearing tonight, but we can leave it open. We don't have to close it.
All right.
So that gets to the same end. Correct? Yes. With that, we'll now open the public hearing on Bill number 30-24. Madam Secretary, did we receive any testimony through the online testimony tool?
Yes, Madam Chair, we received 10 pieces of written testimony, which was shared with the council, added to the record, and posted to the website.
I don't have anybody signed up in advance to speak on Bill 30-24 at this time. Is there anyone here in the audience that wants to come forward to speak on Bill 30-24? Seeing no movement in the audience, we will hold this public hearing open and we'll reconvene this public hearing at the June 3rd meeting. Mr. Smith? You want to make a motion to hold?
Oh, I'm sorry. Make a motion to hold Bill number 30-24 to the next
June 3rd.
June 3rd? Which date?
Rod Bean, second.
Okay.
Madam Secretary, please call the roll on the motion to hold Bill 30-24 for public hearing and vote on June 3rd, 2024.
Ms. Rodvian?
Aye.
Ms. Ledbetter?
Aye.
Mr. Smith?
Aye.
Mr. Volkey?
Aye.
Ms. Hummer?
Aye.
Ms. Fiedler?
Aye.
Ms. Pickard?
Aye.
7 in the affirmative, none in the negative. The motion to hold Bill number 3024 till June 3rd for the public hearing and for the vote is passed.
Thank you. Madam Secretary, please read the title of Bill number 31-24.
Bill number 3124, an ordinance concerning pensions, reemployment, reduction of benefits. I just want to make one note on the printed agenda. There was an error. It does read 3123. We do apologize, but it is correct on the digital online version.
Mr. Smith, this is your bill. You have the floor.
Thank you, Madam Chair. So this bill is also in reference to employees of the county. So this ordinance will allow individuals, because we have had a hiring crisis, I don't want to say to that extent, but challenges with hiring throughout the county for a number of years with specific positions. What this bill allows is if you do retire, and we're going to amend this as well, if you are allowed to retire, you're going to be able to come back at some point in the future, and if there are vacancies in the county, and not have your pension reduced. I think it's unfair for employees who have worked 20 years, or whether that's Rex and Parks, or if they've worked in, maybe they were a mechanic, or they were a police officer, and they've worked for this county for a number of years. They've retired. A couple months or a few years have gone by. We still have a vacancy within other departments, and they can't come and work back with the county, or they could, but their pension will be reduced because of it. So I've always thought that was an unfair thing that we've done, and so I'm hoping this bill will, I work in the military, so I'm a Marine, right? So I don't know too many military folks who retire from the military, then go work for DOD and have their military pension reduced. And so I don't think that it doesn't happen on the federal side. I certainly don't think it should happen on the local side. And so this is an effort to remediate that. At the appropriate time, we'll ask for this. I've been meeting with the police department as well as the fire department, and I know that there was a pension board review of this as well. So they have some recommendations, and I think it's appropriate that we incorporate some of those recommendations into this. And so we'll ask for this to be delayed just so we can add those amendments to it. But at the end of the day, I think this is going to help with recruiting, and I also believe it's going to help save money because, as the pension board member stated before, if we have a retiree that's receiving medical benefits and they come back and work for the county, that's one less person we have to pay those medical. So we're going to, in my mind, we're going to save money by implementing this policy so that, one, we get those people that have the skill sets and the knowledge of Anne Arundel County, but at the same time, we create another avenue that remediates an unfair, at least, policy that I think penalizes folks for their hard work. So that's all I have to say at this moment. I'll pass it over to the administration to Madam Chair.
Would the administration like to speak on Bill 31-24?
Just briefly, Madam Chair, thank you. I want to thank the sponsor for conversations over the last couple weeks. Before I get too much further, with me at the table, I have Ann Badowski and Kelly Lovett from the Office of Personnel, Stephen Thoreau from the Budget Office, and Kelly Kenny from the Office of Law. As the bill is drafted, there are some unanswered questions, so that it requires further amendment, and there's some issues with the cap on benefits that employees have and police officers and firefighters have in their pension systems as well. There are some retirees, if they come from the police department over into the sheriff's department, their pension is already not offset. I think that's important to note. So they can already collect their pension while also working for the sheriff's office. It varies from county to county as to whether or not pensions are offset or reduced during a period of reemployment with the county. So again, I think some amendments are in order, and we'll be discussing those further before the next meeting. We're happy to answer any questions.
Are there any questions of the sponsor or the administration on Bill 31-24 at this time? Mr. Smith?
Is there?
No. Since this bill was advertised, we will go ahead and go through the motions of holding a public hearing. We will hold it open. Would you like to hold this public hearing open as well? Yes. Okay. Madam Secretary, we'll now open the public hearing on Bill 31-24. Madam Secretary, did we receive any testimony through the online testimony tool?
No, Madam Chair, we did not.
We did not have anyone signed up in advance to speak on Bill 31-24. Is there anyone in the audience at this time who would like to speak on Bill 31-24? Mr. Shire, you made it just by the skin of your teeth. So, Mr. Shire, since you weren't in the room at the time, there will be a motion to hold this. Okay. But go ahead.
Just briefly, thank you. Here on behalf of the FOP, no longer with the Pension Oversight Commission. Thank you very much. Appreciate the resolution of the prior meeting. The FOP is in favor of Bill 3124. As a general concept, we are definitely in favor of getting rid of what is basically a penalty for our employees to come back to work in service for the county. This has kept retired police officers away from county service where they could be useful to this county and to the police department or elsewhere in the county for far too long. I don't think it has served any of its original purposes other than keeping people away who have the institutional knowledge, training, and experience to work in our county. Specifically for police officers, I've been a police officer for over 20 years now, believe it or not. I sometimes don't, but here we are. And this job does take a toll on your body and on your mind. So after a decently long career, many of our police officers want to separate from the police work and having to, do the day-to-day grind that is police work, but they still wish to serve. They're still capable of serving in administrative functions or other functions. And when they go and look for employment, and if they want it to be government employment, they would have to come back to Anne Arundel County and take this $1 paid back for every $2 that they earn, basically cutting their salary down by almost half. So they go work for other counties or other agencies elsewhere. And that just seems ludicrous to us. We should be able to keep these people. There are jobs that we need done. We need people who have that institutional knowledge. We have spoken with the bill sponsor. We have expressed the need for some amendments to clarify some things and clean up some things. He has all that information, and we're expecting those amendments and appreciate the support of the county council. That is all.
Thank you for staying within your 2-minute limit.
Did I? Kaylee started looking at me.
We're going to keep this public hearing open. Madam Secretary, please read the title of Bill number 31-24.
Bill number 31-24, maybe. An ordinance concerning pensions reemployment reduction of benefits.
Are there any comments at this time from my colleagues on Bill 31-24? Mr. Smith?
Madam Chair, motion to hold Bill 3124 till June 3rd.
Second.
Madam Secretary, please call the roll on the motion to hold Bill 31-24 until the June 3rd, 2024 meeting.
Ms. Rabian? Aye. Ms. Ledbetter?
Aye.
Mr. Smith?
Aye.
Mr. Volke?
Aye.
Ms. Hummer?
Aye.
Ms. Fiedler?
Aye.
Ms. Pickard?
Aye.
7 in the affirmative, none in the negative. The motion to hold Bill number 3124 till June 3rd is passed.
We'll see that bill on June 3rd. Madam Secretary, please read the titles of Bill 27-24 and Bill number 28-24.
Bill number 2724, an ordinance concerning General Development Plan, Region 4 Plan. Bill number 2824, an ordinance concerning Comprehensive Zoning, Region 4.
Okay, before we get started, Mr. Hunt, I do want to let everybody know I've been informed that we are at capacity. So there is a TV viewing this, relaying this proceeding in the lobby. But as we go through tonight, if you are done testifying and want to allow someone else to come in, that would be greatly helpful. Also, there are seats. There are still open seats if folks would like to find a seat. There are some people still in line, but we are at capacity in this room. Thank you. Mr. Hunt?
Thank you very much, Madam Chair. Ethan Hunt for the administration. With me at the table, I have Christina Pompa, Cindy Carrier, and Eric Ketterling from the Office of Planning and Zoning, and Kelly Kenny from the Office of Law. So we're here to discuss, for the first time, Region 4, the plan and its companion comprehensive rezoning bill. Region plan process is outlined in section 18.2.103 of the county code, and more details contained in Plan 2040, which is the county's general development plan that was adopted by the council in May of 2021. Region plans and comprehensive zoning are a major implementation piece of Plan 2040, and we're pleased to be here tonight to discuss Bills 27 and 28-24. So for OPZ, you already know Christina Pompa, who's the Deputy Planning and Zoning Officer who oversees the Planning Division. Cindy Carrier is the Planning Administrator for the Long Range Planning Section who oversees the Region Plan process, and Eric Ketterling has managed the Region 4 planning process. You'll remember OPZ did a pretty robust presentation for Regions 2 and 7 at the February 9th, 2024 Council work session. Since we don't have a work session in the month of May, OPZ has prepared a brief presentation that will cover both of the Region 4 bills. If members of the public need more information about the overall process, they should refer back to the February 9th presentation, and I'll turn it over to Mr. Ketterling to get started with his brief presentation.
Good evening, members of the County Council. Thank you for your time, and let's get right to it. So the Region 4 plan and the planning process is very similar to Regions 2 and 7, which you guys have recently adopted. Given such, today's presentation will be more brief than what has been previously presented. I will present a general overview of the planning process and provide some information on outreach efforts, as well as provide some highlights and recommendations contained in the region plan. I will then switch focus to a broad overview of zoning in the Region 4 before answering any questions you may have. However, if you have any questions during the presentations, I'd be happy to answer them. First and foremost, and on behalf of OPZ, I'd like to extend a special thank you and shout out to each of the 15 Stakeholder Advisory Committee members. It's with their intimate knowledge of their geographic areas and the time that they have devoted to this process that I can really appreciate their ability to help get this process to the point it is today. As you know, Plan 2040 established a Stakeholder Advisory Committee, or an SAC for short, between 9 and 15 members who would work and to collaborate and advise staff in the development of the plan and its recommendations. The committee was to be composed of a diverse range of viewpoints and demographics in the region, including long-time and recent residential property owners, members of the community or social organizations, local business representatives, young adult representatives, members of school organizations, home builder or real estate developers, members of the government agencies. Their work started with a kickoff meeting in December of 2021, and they met 26 times between then and September 2023. Region 4 SAC appointed by Resolution 56-21 and then Resolutions 43-22 for replacements. A quorum was met and verified at each meeting. Very similar to Regions 2 and 7, Regions 4 outreach process included opportunities for the public to provide input through different online forums, such as questionnaires, feedback maps, and then good old email and phone calls. Additionally, staff attended several events hosted by various community drop-in sessions to help promote the Region 4 plan and comprehensive zoning. Among other events, we were able to attend an information table at the community college, speak with high school students, and attend a luncheon at the Arundel Senior Center. Thank you to all our hosts and being so welcoming to help. Most of our SAC meetings and drop-in sessions were located at libraries in Region 4, and I would like to extend in a special thank you to the county's library system for being so accommodating and having such great staff. On the next slide, you're going to be able to see a more detailed overview of efforts to contact property owners, applicants, and members of the public. So this slide does not include every piece of outreach we conducted. As previously mentioned, staff attended and hosted different events. This list on this slide contains more information regarding mailings, postings, and some larger benchmarks for the outreach process. I do want to highlight that staff mailed 2,062 letters to property owners where zoning was proposed to change, plus postcards to every property owner to notify them at the beginning of the process. Additionally, staff emailed newsletters through our Constant Contact forum at least once a month during these steps in 2023. So throughout the entire planning process and outreach efforts, there were several key issues where we heard from the public. While this is not an exhaustive list of every comment received, staff heard the following: an emphasis to protect environmental features, a lack of housing of diversity in the region, a need for additional multimodal infrastructure, mobility and congestion issues, underutilized commercial areas and vacancies, and to promote neighborhood compatibility of uses and design guidelines. Those ideas from the public, as well as conversations and meetings with the Stakeholder Advisory Committee, created the Region 4 Vision Statement. The Region 4 planning process involved a series of public meetings, questionnaires, outreach events, and public engagement that shed light on the community's thoughts on and desires for the future of Region 4. The Region 4 Stakeholder Advisory Committee drew from these conversations, informational meetings with county departments, and the SAC's own experiences to develop a shared vision for the future of Region 4. The vision statement is reflected throughout the content of this master plan and will guide implementation of the Region 4 strategies. Like Regions 2 and 7, the Region 4 plan structure is very similar to that of Plan 2040. There are 4 primary chapters on different recommendations for the future of Region 4. Recommendations are generally meant to drill down on those of Plan 2040 and not repeat the strategies of the GDP. Some recommendations apply countywide or across other regions, while others are more specific to Region 4. The implementation matrix in the plan shows how each of the recommendations can and will be implemented. The first chapter is the natural environment chapter, which focuses on environmental features, water quality, and similar topics. There are a total of 23 strategies, 7 of which are specific to Region 4. Key highlights include to develop a scenic rivers program for Region 4 to include protection of culturally and environmentally important vistas, improvement of designated spaces for public enjoyment, signage, and programming, promote redevelopment of aging and underperforming stormwater management sites with a focus of commercial revitalization areas along Mountain Road, prepare a feasibility study of sea level rise adaptation measures for peninsulas on low-lying areas, especially the Lakeshore Peninsula, provide and implement recommendations for community-scale actions and projects. The next chapter is the built environment chapter, and this addresses many of the key issues we heard during the process. This includes housing, land use, climate change and sea level rise, transportation, and cultural resources. It's the largest chapter of the plan and has a total of 76 strategies. 23 are specific to the region. Some key recommendations include neighborhood compatibility with design, scale, and accessibility, promote small neighborhood mixed-use hubs near and compatible with residential neighborhoods, various strategies to encourage and promote affordable housing, missing middle housing, transit, expanded access to, transit coordination across jurisdictions, various strategies to encourage and promote historic preservation outcomes, as well as expanded bike ped linkages. The next chapter is the Healthy Communities chapter, which includes parks, schools, health, aging, and other public facilities. There are 22 strategies in total, 8 are specific to Region 4. Some of the key highlights include to engage in community members in the planning process for renovations and replacement of library facilities in Region 4, expand public water access with opportunities for swimming and boat ramps or launches for kayaks, canoes, trailerable size boats along the waterways in Region 4, including but not limited to the Magathie and Severn River. Develop smaller neighborhood parks in higher needs areas throughout the Region 4 with features such as dog runs, pollinator gardens, and other passive park opportunities. Healthy economy is the next chapter and includes economic and business development. Most of these strategies are already covered by Plan 2040. However, there are 3 additional region-specific that help reinforce what's already being done. And those include to continue to support local economic development initiatives for redevelopment efforts in the Riviera Beach, Mountain Road, Ritchie Highway, Fort Small Road, College Parkway, Benfield Boulevard, and other critical corridors. Capitalize on Region 4 as the county's main outdoor recreation and water access hub by developing a marketing study that seeks to increase the revenue generated by tourism and recreation industry sectors, and seek ways to utilize enhanced branding and marketing to support local neighborhood businesses and community identities in Region 4. So that again is a very brief and broad overview of the plan document itself, and I will move on to the comprehensive zoning. The county holding capacity model provides a generalized estimate of land available for redevelopment and development and potential for additional residential housing units. These results estimate the total acres of land and number of residential units that may be developed based on a set of assumptions, including zoning, sewer service, and environmental constraints. The model does not take into account APF capacity assessed during site development plan review. The model identified vacant and underutilized or redevelopable parcels and applies an estimated number of dwelling units based on recent actual projects. Vacant properties are parcels with an assessed value of improvements less than $10,000. Underutilized or redevelopable properties have an assessed value of improvements greater than $10,000, but less than assessed value of the land. Parcels are excluded that were not likely to be developed for residential use because ownership by public agency or utility, easements, or environmental constraints. Based on all this information, Region 4 has a housing surplus of approximately 4,105 units based on the way the land is currently zoned today and projections of households in the future. Please note that these numbers on this slide is from 2021 and don't account for the recent zoning changes in the adopted plans of Regions 2 and 7. So as we all know, Region 4 is a very large region, and each of the following slides show a community snapshot of the zoning recommendations. I will discuss the zoning for each community at a very high level. Each map associated with the respective community shows a static screenshot of the entire community. Members of the County Council, as well as members of the public, are encouraged to review the zoning web viewer and change tables located on the Region 4 hub site at aacounty.org/region4. When accessing these links, you will be able to find a specific area or site to view and see if there are any recommended change. This is the same process as Regions 2 and 7. I will begin with Gibson Island, move to Pasadena, and then Severna Park before heading south to Arnold, Cape St. Clair, and then the Broadneck communities. Gibson Island had some land use changes through Plan 2040. The single zoning application submitted for the Region 4 plan process was broken into 3 parts, each of which match a land use change from Plan 2040. The plan land use decisions made by the County Council in Plan 2040 were largely untouched during the Region 4 planning process. Like Regions 2 and 7, the recommended land use changes in each of the community met the requirements of state law by making either the existing zoning or recommended zoning consistent with the planned land use. The community with the largest number of recommended changes is Pasadena. As you can see, there are recommendations for development policy area and their overlays, planned land use, and zoning. Please note, each community slide states a number of zoning change evaluations. This is made up of a change request from property owners as well as staff and SAC members. Not every application for a zoning change resulted in a recommendation for a change. Generally speaking, the recommendation for Pasadena resulted in 3 overarching ideas: to retain the current zoning in most areas, provide lower density in certain areas for environmental protections, and support village centers in the area. The next community is Severna Park. While there were recommendations to change some of the development policy area overlays, planned land use, and zoning, the general recommendations for Severna Park resulted in retaining the current zoning and established residential communities and ensure consistency between zoning and land use for businesses along Ritchie Highway. The third community is Arnold. The only recommendations for this area were for planned land use and the zoning. These resulted in general recommendations to retain the current zoning in most areas, as well as making sure the zoning aligned with the surrounding neighborhoods. Next up is Cape St. Clair. The only recommended changes are for an increase of OS zoning, or open space. Most of the recommendations involved properties where the change to OS for the entire parcel is consistent with the existing and intended use of a platted open space or recreation area that is not under a conservation easement in perpetuity. For the rest of the community, retaining the currently adopted zoning is recommended. Finally, the Broadneck community. While there were a few changes being recommended for the plan, land use, and zoning, generally speaking, the main recommendation for a broadneck community is to retain the current zoning. Just to reiterate, Region 4 is a very large community, and this presentation provided only a small general overview. More detail on each of these communities can be seen through the online mapping tool and recommended change tables listed on the Region 4 hub site at aacounty.org/Region 4. And with that, that is it.
Mr. Volkey.
Thank you, Madam Chair. Just a moment, I wanted to thank, there's a gentleman here, Gus Kurtz, who is the chair of the Planning Advisory Board. I wanted to acknowledge Gus and thank him for his work and the Planning Advisory Board's work because they previously reviewed this before we got it as the County Council, so I want to thank Gus. I also want to thank John Spencer, who was my appointee to the Stakeholder Advisory Committee. Still call them small area plans, but so it's set up there that the County Council appoints, and just so you all understand, we did ultimately approve the resolution, but we each had one selection for that group, and John was my guy. He went to the meetings and he did a fantastic job in terms of advocating for Pasadena. A little bit of background. So the general development plan was passed 3 years ago. That was something that some of us had some significant concerns about. Myself and Councilwoman Fiedler both did. So ultimately we were not able to support that plan back then. But this time we are working with the Office of Planning and Zoning, and we have gone through extensively looking at the general development plan, what the land use is, because you have to understand there's two layers to zoning, right? There's land use and then there's the actual zoning intensity. And so as we're going to see when we get to what most of you are here for in the yellow shirts, which is the golf center, there are multiple things that have to be changed on that property. We're going to change the zoning, and then we're also going to change some of the underlying developmental policy areas as well as the land use. So we're going to do that by way of 2 amendments. I did just want to share with all of you, I've sent this email out to many, many people, as many as I can try to get it to, but we have heard you loud and clear. We are grateful that you are here, but I just want to tell you we have heard you, and if anybody saw my Facebook post, I have let you know we're going to do what you want to do. So with that, as we go through the testimony, please just try to keep that in mind, that we have all heard what you had to say. We all share those same concerns up here on the council, and we've had extensive discussions, never more than 3 of us at a time, because that would be a problem. So with that, I'm really looking forward to hearing from the community on this bill. I thank you guys all for coming down here, and look forward to hearing from the community.
Are there any questions from my colleagues regarding Region 4 or additional statements from the admin on Region 4 before we get started with the public hearing? Ms. Fiedler.
Thank you, Madam Chair. I just want to give a shout out to District 5 that is probably on the street or in the lobby, and welcome Pasadena.
As we did with both the Region 2 and Region 7 plan, is there any objection to move forward with a joint public hearing on bills 2724 and 2824? All right, seeing no objection, this council is going to open the joint public hearing on bill 2724 and 2824, which are both related to Region 4. Madam Secretary, did we receive any testimony through the online testimony tool?
Yes, Madam Chair. We received 138 pieces of testimony for Bill number 2724 and 308 pieces for Bill 2824. They have been shared with the council, added to the record, and posted to the website. I would also like to make one note about Rule 4-106 of our rules, is that we do not allow visual demonstrations such as waving of placards, signs, balloons, or banners. They are prohibited in the chambers.
Thank you. As we have done with both the joint hearing for Regions 2 and 7, I wanted to, before we go into this public hearing, we do have numerous folks signed up. Each individual, whether representing a group of people or an organization, is also limited to 1 2-minute testimony. When we call on individuals who signed up ahead of the meeting, please come up to the table, have a seat. When it is your turn, state your name and address for the record. When you hear the buzzer, I would ask that you respect the 2-minute time limit and allow your neighbors to have their turn. With that, I'm going to start this long list. Miss, and if I mispronounce your name, I do apologize. Michelle Schonzeit, Emily Klebaner. We'll come back if they're out in the lobby. Simeon Kablaner. This is probably the first public hearing since that we've had people in the lobby. So we're a little out of our depth here with what to do, but we will get everybody heard. We're just going to have to figure out how to identify when someone's in the lobby. So just patience and grace, my friends. Joseph Hara, Leslie Price. Oh, Mr. Hara, just come on down. I'm sorry, ma'am. Can you just tell me your name so
I'm Michelle Schonzeit.
Fantastic. Leslie Price. Eric Roby. Yeah, thank you. Jamie Herman. She's not here. Okay, not yet, or just not in the audience? She's not coming. Margaret Cotter. And that's it for our 6 seats to get started. All right, Ms. Schonzeit, you have 2 minutes.
Thank you. My name is Michelle Schonzeit, and I live on Shawtown Road, which is in the Region 4 zoning change proposal area. Shawtown Road is one of the areas that is proposed to go from currently RLD to R1 and R5. Currently, Shawtown Road only has 13 homes on it. It is rural. It is a dead-end road. The roadway width is at the most 19 feet and actually is mostly relatively 17 feet. The proposed zoning change would allow for 86 homes to be built on our very narrow Chiney Road. We did not request our road to be changed. Our property is in for the zoning change. We didn't ask for that. It appears to be that the Planning Advisory Board was attempting to allow for spot zoning and cover it up by changing a bunch of our neighbors that did not request the zoning change either. In fact, we actually received notification about the zoning change after the comment period for the Zoning and Planning Advisory Board was already closed. Our letter came November 5th, and all of the testimony and opportunity to speak was closed by October 31st. We have grave concerns. There's a bunch of our area that also crosses Mill Creek. It is wetlands. Our roadway is only about a foot elevation above the wetlands. And we have grave concerns for the impact that this would have in our community. And frankly, it would impact all of the Broadneck community because adding 80-something homes to a roadway that currently has 13 will cause congestion and throughout the whole Broadneck Peninsula that's already congested. I ask that the county council please keep our RLD zoning that we did not ask for to change. I did reference, there's also a letter that I have some pictures that show the nature of Shawtown Road and some of the affected areas. And thank you very much for your time this evening.
Good evening, my name is...
Oh, I'm sorry. I skipped over the young lady. I thought you were just sitting there. I'm sorry. My apologies.
Hi, my name's Emily, and I live on Shawtown Road. And so there is a creek back there, and I know a lot of animals depend on it, and I mean, I just don't want to take that away. I love nature so much, and there's so many different kinds of turtles and a lot of different birds that depend on the nature back there, and I just don't want to see more trees cut down, nest of birds in there being cut down, and some trees have sap that woodpeckers depend on for their food and also their homes.
Madam Chair. Emily, you did a fantastic job.
Well done. Sir.
My name is Joseph Hara. I'm here to represent the Five Buoys community. I'm here to talk about the PYY Marine rezoning. We submitted a letter in support, but me and the president and the vice president of our HOA board are all here in this room to support. We support the MB rezoning. We have been in talks with Mike, the owner, as well as Councilman Volke. And again, we're just here to represent, to stand in that line to show that we, as the community that is adjacent to that marina, we're the only land-based access to that marina, and we support the amendment to rezone to MB. We understand what it is. We understand the protections that we have in place through the law and through the regulations that would need to be gone through. So again, we are here to say that we support what is going on, and that's it.
Thank you. Ms. Price?
Hi, I'm Leslie Price. I live at 2112 Bayfront Terrace, and I'm here to oppose the rezoning of 2116 Bayfront Terrace from a marine yacht club to a marine light commercial. This property we purchased 3 years ago, and the reason we purchased it was because of the community that was there. It's a cul-de-sac street. We have people walking down the street with kids, with dogs, with strollers. There are no street lights. There's no sidewalks. And there is a yacht club that was part of the original development of this. The developer got a special exception to allow a yacht club when he developed the parcels. The original owners, buyers, were required to take a membership in the yacht club, and it has become a community amenity. But 2 years ago, Safe Harbor bought the yacht club, knowing it was an MA3 zone, and has since expanded the uses beyond what was permitted. The original developer had tried in 1973 to have it rezoned from MA3 to MA2, and by a vote of 7-0, County Council, after hearing from the community, said, no, we're not going to do that. Again, the developer tried in 1980 to go through the county's zoning board of appeals to have it changed to MA2 from MA3. And once again, he was denied by the county. We are asking the county to make sure that it stays as a community amenity.
Thank you. Mr. Roby.
Good evening, Madam Chairman and members of the council. If I could ask everybody that's here for the Pasadena Golf Center rezoning, if you could just stand up, the people that are in opposition to it. A lot of folks. As you can see, tonight we're here to give you our opinion loud and clear as to why the rezoning of the Pasadena Golf Center should not happen. In the interest of time, most of these residents standing behind me will not be speaking tonight. These concerned residents represent families, business owners, and community associations that call the Lakeshore Peninsula home. Thank you folks for being here tonight. The uniqueness of the Lakeshore Peninsula and the challenges this rezoning more calls are why we're here to oppose the rezoning. From the Golf Center property to where the peninsula ends at the Gibson Island Gate is a 6.3-mile stretch of a single-lane highway with a middle turn lane. It's home to over 18,000 residents, 27 named unique communities, 4 public schools, dozens of commercial buildings, 3 major athletic complexes, 6 houses of warships, and a large county regional park. Yes, it's true, we do have other peninsulas in the county, but none as densely populated as the Lakeshore Peninsula, and none which is a single 2-lane road that provides access to such a large population. When an accident occurs, everyone seated in here and out in the lobby know there's only one way in and one way out, so we're stuck. This change will dramatically impact the characteristics of the Lakeshore Peninsula forever. It's an area with almost exclusively low-density and rural-density housing, and to place R10 zoning here does not complement the existing zoning. For more than 3 decades, the elected officials and appointed officials who have represented this area have understood the unique challenges and have rejected these types of zoning changes because they know the infrastructure just can't handle it. Tonight, we're asking you to do the same thing, not allow this zoning change to go forward, which is right at the point of entry and exit to our peninsula, which, by the way, is referred to as the longest dead-end road in the state of Maryland. Thank you.
Perfect. Ma'am. Ma'am.
Hang on. Okay. Good evening. My name is Meg Cowder. I live at 8304 Loblolly Lane, and I'm here to ask you to oppose the zoning change for 4358, the golf center. In June 2021, in Severna Park Voice, it quoted Mr. Pittman, who said that Plan 2040 does something that's very rare in government. It transfers power from the government to the people. It literally puts the people first. Well, the people mentioned do not want this zoning change. So please don't approve it. It's a 31 acre parcel, and it has 17 acres, which is a forest conservation easement. There are 7 additional acres of forest, which are unprotected. That equals 23 acres total forest, and normally in AA County, the forest conservation easements are considered safe, and normally they are not cut down, and they're safe, so that's good. The 7 acres not protected by the easement could surely be cut down during this development to the detriment of Lakeshore Peninsula air and water quality. Forests provide leaf canopy, cooling the air, yielding lower temperatures. They remove CO2, and they deliver oxygen. You know this science. We do not need to lose our forest. NASA's Goddard carbon monitoring system and UMD researcher Dr. Hart have provided high-resolution tree measurements to support research on the value of maintaining forests versus cutting them down, versus deforestation. According to that team, one mature tree absorbs approximately 40 pounds of CO2 per year. So on the 7-acre parcel that is unprotected, you consider that there are 100 trees per acre. That's a normal number for a healthy forest. And 700 trees, therefore, on the 7 unprotected acres, remove 28,000 pounds of CO2 from the atmosphere. Is that me?
Thank you.
Well, thank you very much.
This panel is dismissed. We're going to bring in Simeon next. Is that you, sir? Yes, ma'am. Okay, thank you. All right. And then we have Mr. Richard Hare, Karen Doggendorf, Robin Boggs, Nona K. Wallenschlager, Amanda Kopp. Okay. Mr. Klebaner, am I saying that right?
Yes, ma'am.
You have the floor. 2 minutes, sir.
Thank you. Members of the County Council, I come before you to join with my Shottown Road neighbors, members of the community, to oppose the zoning change from RLD to R1, R5 on the Shottown Road area. I'd like to make it clear to the County Council that I did not request the zoning change from RLD to R1, but I was granted it. And I specifically purchased this property almost 11 years ago because the neighborhood was zoned RLD. I was not consulted by the Planning Advisory Board or the Zoning Board and did not request a change. This arbitrary and capricious change proposed by the Zoning Board was done without my knowledge or consent. It's my understanding that no members of the Planning Board actually visited Shottown Road or other sites to view the properties. The proposed change did not allow sufficient time from the respective board members to receive the input from the community, which resulted in little or no engagement from any of the stakeholders on the street. They didn't even come visit the property. There's a lack of consistency in decision-making. It flies in the face of the 2040 plan. I can't stress the importance of fair, impartial, and consistent decision-making when it comes to proposed changes in the zoning regulations, and none of this appeared to be any of that. The fact that there was no input from members of the community and many proposed changes were done at the last minute without ever consulting the residents of Shottown Road clearly outlines the need to shine a bright light on the unethical actions of the respective members of the Zoning and Planning Board. Had I known about the meetings, I would have attended, but they kind of just occurred in a vacuum. It's particularly odd that I never asked for the change and I got one anyway. The Plan 2040 provides a change that says that any change must provide a specific public benefit which is proposed. Several property owners talked about generational wealth, but the Plan 2040 calls to be supportive of strategies developed for the region, and this plan is not in compliance with the 2040 plan. Many of the goals outlined in the 2040 plan are not met by converting this road. It would change from 13 parcels on the road to approximately 85 or 87, I believe. Shottown Road is in a critical wetlands area that has Mill Creek. It runs parallel to it and at one point underneath it.
Thank you, sir. Mr. Richard Hare?
Thank you for this opportunity. My name's Richard Hare. I live at 8090 Forest Glen Drive, and I'm here representing myself and the Forest Glen Homeowners Association. I'm sure tonight you'll hear many reasons why rezoning should be denied of the Pasadena Golf Center. We are obviously against the rezoning of the Golf Center. I'm going to focus on safety. The statistics I'm about to give you tonight are from the Anne Arundel County Department of Public Works Traffic Engineering Division. These statistics are for a 6.3 mile stretch of road from Hogneck Road to Pinehurst. Anne Arundel County has over 2,000 miles of striped roads. The statistics I'm giving you are just 6.3 miles of that 2,000. As you heard, and you probably know, the Lakeshore Peninsula is the only peninsula in Anne Arundel County with one way in and one way out. And my papers are sticking together. In a recent four-year period, this 6.3 mile stretch has had 260 crashes. 91 of those crashes were personal injury crashes. Those stats indicate that there's over 1.5 crashes every week, a personal injury crash every 12 to 13 days. There have been 3 fatalities in that time frame. 2 of those fatalities were under 21 years of age. Adding the possibility of 300 more homes, possibly 600 more cars to that 6.3 mile stretch will increase crashes and personal injury. There are 81 school buses that go up and down that 6 mile stretch every morning and every afternoon. It's only a matter of time before one of those school buses are involved in a serious injury or serious accident or crash. It is inevitable that rezoning and adding all those cars and that will increase school buses due to more kids, and that will increase the possibility of more accidents. It's only a matter of time before there's a serious accident, some child is hurt or killed. There's also an impact on the fire department.
Thank you, sir. I'm not exactly sure who's come up next. Karen Doggendorf, you're next. Thank you.
Hi. Karen Doggendorf, 7955 Oak Road, Pasadena. Good evening, council members. I am asking you to oppose the rezoning of the Pasadena Golf Center from RLD and C2 to R10, allowing possibly 300-plus multi-housing units. This acreage has critical areas involved, along with forest preservation. There are streams surrounded by forests that flow into Main Creek. I strongly believe this is detrimental to our environment. With tree removal, we lose the natural ability to filter drainage into the streams that flow into Main Creek. Even if trees do not fall within the buffer zone, they cannot be replaced by planting another tree due to the maturity and number of trees to be removed. An example, you remove a boulder, replacing with gravel does not equate to what the boulder was accomplishing. Why would anyone who claims to love and protect the environment, as our county executive states numerous times, feel it is acceptable to cause the destruction of a peninsula with existing community, schools, churches, restaurants, stores, forests, and critical areas located on a one-way in, one-way out highway? Main Creek feeds into Botkin Creek, which involves Patapsco, Tidal, and Botkin Creek watersheds. This will affect many communities, not only the Lakeshore Peninsula. Our shoreline is located on our world-famous Chesapeake Bay, the largest estuary in the United States. I would hope that Mr. Pittman and Governor Moore would not want their legacy to include the devastation of not only our communities, but also depriving commercial crabbers and commercial fishermen of their livelihood. Thank you.
Thank you. Robin Boggs?
Yes, ma'am. Good evening. I appreciate your time tonight. I'm Robin Boggs, 1349 Old Mountain Road in Pasadena. I've lived behind Angel's grocery store for 14 years and will admit I didn't see the vast beauty and character of Lakeshore until this rezoning was announced. Since that time, the communications chair for our Protect Our Lakeshore Peninsula Committee, I've met my neighbors, many of who are here today. I've driven down roads I never knew existed, finding small farms, woodland areas, waterfront views, wildlife sightings, and pure serenity juxtaposed with the busyness of the Mountain Road corridor. Unfortunately, rezoning the golf center property to R10 would alter our community forever. It would overcrowd an already congested area, decrease public safety, disrupt the natural habitat, displace local wildlife, and destroy the unique character of our 6.3 mile peninsula that we call home. We're hoping you understand this change isn't in the community's or the county's best interests, and you vote no to the rezoning of the Pasadena Golf Center property. In closing, I ask a favor of all of my neighbors here tonight. If you plan to repeat any testimony already stated, please rise, say that you stand with us, and yield your time back to ensure we get to the vote on the amendment so critical to protecting our peninsula. Thank you.
Thank you. Ms. Nona K. Wallenschwicker. Is Nona K. Thank you.
Thank you, Chairman Picard and council members. Nona K. Wollenschlager Rondo, 364 Hickory Point Road, Pasadena, small little neighborhood called Treetops. I'm going to cut mine short and just emphasize a few things. As everyone knows, this year's comprehensive zoning was a new format for everyone: Region, Stakeholder Advisory, Office of Planning and Zoning, the Planning Advisory Board. The Planning Advisory Board recommended against the rezoning of the parcel at 4358 Mountain Road. The Stakeholder Advisory Committee followed OPZ's recommendations without representation or due diligence. There were 15 members of the FCC with only 20% or 3 residents from Pasadena. It can be found in the SAC meeting minutes. Pasadena representation was brought up, but nothing was done. On February 23rd, 2022, SAC meeting suggested a tour of Pasadena, be it Zoom or actual, was put on that agenda. That tour never happened either. It's disingenuous to change a suburban area to urban. I guess Mr. Kittering mentioned some of the checklists for planning and zoning. He neglected to talk about, besides adopting 2040, really considering that it exists with the compatible area of the neighborhood, that it handles the defined sewer service area, which right now the golf center is on well and septic, and consistent with prior land use and zoning decisions, and is it providing a public benefit? Beyond that, I'm going to cut everything else short so other people have time to talk. Thank you so much.
Thank you. Ms. Amanda Cobb?
I apologize, I missed earlier. I'm here representing 8. Do we get to do, I'm representing 8 different testimony. Do I get to do those or just one singular in 2 minutes?
No, you have 2 minutes, ma'am.
Okay, all right, thank you. I'm here to speak on behalf of the Rockview Riviera Isles Improvement Association to express our concerns and objections regarding the proposed rezoning of property 1130 Pasadena Yacht Yard Road from MA2 to MB. While the community understands the intent behind this proposal, we believe it poses significant risks and challenges that outweigh the potential benefits for our communities near and far. Here are my community's key points of contention in this process. Rezoning this area would drastically alter the character of our community and our view. The current zoning maintains a balance between residential and commercial spaces, preserving the unique atmosphere and ensuring that development is in harmony with existing infrastructure. Changing the zoning in denial of what OPZ and PAB have led will lead to overdevelopment, increased traffic, and a loss of neighborhood's charm and identity. The proposed rezoning could have detrimental effects on the local environment. Increased development would lead to more impervious surfaces, exacerbating bluffs, water material runoff, and potentially causing long-term damage for what we have as properties. Moreover, the destruction of green spaces and natural habitats would negatively impact local wildlife and reduce the overall quality of life for residents on and around the waterfront. While proponents of rezoning argue that it will boost the local revenue for PYY, we are in support of that. We want this company to stay in and in our neighborhood, but we do not wish for overdevelopment that causes harm for us in our own homes. The rezoning proposal seems to lack sufficient community input and transparency. Residents deserve a more participatory role in decisions that significantly impact their lives and neighborhoods. It is crucial that the council ensures all voices are heard and considered before making such a transformative decision. And again, despite the experts who have spent multiple years implementing and lowering a zoning reference, this should be denied by all claims and needs within the community and for PYY. In conclusion, I urge you to reconsider the proposed rezoning. Instead, let us explore alternative solutions like, Councilwoman Feidler did with the balanced development, preserving the integrity and sustainability of our community. I believe that with careful planning and genuine community engagement and PYY's engagement, we can find a path forward that benefits all stakeholders without compromising our values or quality of life in our homes. It is unfortunate that PYY was not aware of this rezoning when purchasing.
Thank you.
Thank
this
you.
panel is dismissed. If anyone's willing to step out and let your neighbors in from the outside, that would be grateful. Mr.
Madam Chair.
Yes.
Just one quick comment. That was probably the fastest 2 minutes. Yes. Kudos for getting all those words in and within 2 minutes.
Well, I hope you heard it, Mr.
I heard every word.
Mr. Andrew Price, Leslie Bridget, Kathleen McCredden, Leisha Self, Dan Snyder, and Sarah Porter. I know there were statements about yielding your time, so if you're yielding your time, you can just not come forward. Mr. Price? Is there a Mr. Okay, okay. Ms. Bridget?
I'm Leslie Bridget. I live at 520 Sylvan Way, just off Mountain Road, in a community affected by the rezoning of the Lakeshore Golf Course. Excuse me. My neighbors and I are alarmed for the following reasons. Due to rezoning of this 8-mile stretch of road, it's already overdeveloped with 18,000 residents. The rezoning is the only exit point, as we mentioned, on this peninsula, and a choke point what would severely impact thousands of people. Another questionable decision was creating a high school near the end of the road. Students have cars. There's events like football games that draw large crowds. There are 2 adjacent schools. Buses make multiple stops. Traffic inches along at dismissal. To fix this already overburdened road, an alternating center lane was added, but it leads to head-on collisions and accidents. There are teen deaths as drivers and pedestrians. Accidents close the road for hours. Parents can't get home to their children. Doctor's appointments are missed. Every day, our lives revolve around delays. And when it's urgent, such as a birth or a pet emergency, it could mean life or death. It is a big deal. This golf center is partially wooded. It's within the Botkin watershed that offers marshes where crabs and fish begin their life. Development will add urban chemicals to the bay. When the crabs and fish are gone and the water is too toxic for swimming, it's too late to vote no. Your decision is pivotal to help the bay. I fully support affordable housing. 15 years I managed my row home in Brooklyn. I listened to my tenants. They used buses. Lakeshore offers no public transportation, nor can it deal with more buses. Please build the affordable housing further west. This small peninsula cannot handle the burden physically or environmentally. I testified on behalf of my county earlier at a PBA rezoning meeting. The committee voted to deny the rezoning and remove the town center overlay. I remain hopeful that you understand the seriousness of your decision and ask that you vote no. Thank you.
Thank you. Kathleen McCrudden?
Good afternoon, good evening. I'm Kathleen McCrudden, 8007 Bailey's Lane, Pasadena. I'd like to talk a little bit about the history of Lakeshore from my own personal perspective, which is quite likely similar to that of many of my neighbors. In 1950, my parents, George and Marie Bailey, bought a remote, undeveloped 4-acre parcel of woods in Lakeshore. Using only hand tools, they opened their road and built a 2-room cabin, privy, and chicken coop. Daily tasks took a back seat to exploring the woodlands to locate and identify native plants. They named their land Pine Acres and lived an idyllic life before returning to West Annapolis to raise their family. Properties around Pine Acres were sold and developed, as Isabel Shipley Cunningham described in her 1999 book, Between Two Rivers, about Pasadena's peninsula. Rapid growth is a slippery slope. Development begets more development. In 1972, my parents' old cabin was replaced by our family's permanent home on Bailey's Lane. Ever mindful of building's impact on the surrounding woodlands, our mom did not live long enough to see her ideas embraced in Peter Wallenben's The Hidden Life of Trees, published in 2015. In 2017, Pine Acres was registered with the National Wildlife Federation as a certified wildlife habitat. It is a refuge and sanctuary for many creatures which local development continues to displace. For every action, there is an equal and opposite reaction. Every tree felled or other act of development causes nature to react. With wisdom with age comes wisdom, and hopefully we will learn from our mistakes. Available land does not require development, especially in a critical area like ours. Longtime Peninsula residents feel that our area is in the crosshairs and about to be sacrificed to the relentless need for profit. My father, a retired Navy chief, often would say, enough is enough and too much is too much. I'm sure if he were here today, he would say that the rezoning is much too much. Thank you.
Leisha Self?
My name's Leisha Self. I live at 1059 Trails End Road, Pasadena, right off of Mountain Road. And I think, what I'm about to say by the color of my shirt. So I won't belabor the point, only to tell you that I'm speaking tonight just so that you know that my entire community, North Shore Association, which is an area of about 250 homes, we universally oppose the rezoning of the Pasadena Golf Course for high-density housing. Thank you.
Thank you. Mr. Price?
Yes. Thank you. Before I begin, you should know there is as many people outside as there are here. I applaud them. I was standing outside. I live at 2112 Bayfront Terrace in the 5th Council District. I live two driveways away from 2116, which is the property owned by Safe Harbor Pickery Point. Under the comprehensive zoning plan, they are seeking, and you have the right or the authority to upzone them to an MA2. We oppose that. We're asking for you to amend the act so that they continue to receive an MA3 yacht club classification, the zoning classification that has existed on this property for the past 60 years. Under an MA2 zoning, they would be able to permit 8 additional permitted item activities that they cannot do now, but as I will explain to you, they are doing. They would be allowed to sell fuel. They would be allowed to have a tavern. They would be allowed to allow charters to operate out of the club. They would be allowed to sell boats and rent boats. As I understand the Comprehensive Zoning Act and also Plan 2040, it's your decision as to whether or not they should have these rights. But that you get advice. You get advice from the Stakeholders Advisory Council, and you get advice from the Planning and Zoning Board. The Stakeholders Advisory Council is not in favor of this particular provision of the act. That was true back in October, and it is true now. The Office of Planning and Zoning was against these amendments back in October, but have changed their mind now. I had the opportunity to speak with the leader of that group, and I asked him, "Have you ever been to the marina?" No.
Thank you, sir. Thank you, sir.
I have prepared 7 booklets.
Yes.
Which will give you pictures. I wasn't allowed to bring in pictures of the violations that are currently going on. But in the back of this book, you will see the pictures of the current violations.
Thank you. Thank you, sir, very much.
I have Sarah Porter.
Sarah Porter, 7816 June Drive, Pasadena. I sit before you to oppose the amendment for PYY to change to MB. OPZ and PAB both recommended that they remain at the MA2 status, and I support this due to their expertise. MB does not require, or it's not required for the needs of PYY in my understanding at this time. I worry if it is changed to MB status, that those of us who live directly on the water will be negatively affected by sound from backup beepers, loud music, etc. I used to live across from Maryland Yacht Club, and we got to enjoy loud music almost every night, and it definitely affects the outdoor spaces that we so enjoy. In addition, it would increase boat traffic, which would be detrimental to being able to enjoy the outdoor space by paddleboarding, by swimming, etc. Thank you.
Thank you. This panel is dismissed. Next on my list, I have Mike Hatcher, Karen Ferda, Benjamin Henenges, Pasquale Carinati, Blake Wilson, and Alexis Herrick. Mr. Hatcher?
Not yet. Hi, my name is Mike Hatcher, 1132 Pasadena Yacht Yard Road, and I would like to ask people in support of PYY Marine to please stand, and if you are standing, please wave your hand. My name is Mike Hatcher, and I'm one of the owners of PYY Marine. We purchased this property in 2015 with the understanding that the property was zoned R5 with a non-conforming MC maritime commercial marine use. When we purchased this property, we were told by the previous owners and their realtor that Anne Arundel County wanted to switch the property to MC use. We were also informed every 10 years the county would perform comprehensive rezoning and that the county had a goal of removing non-conforming use at the time. We obviously did not have a clear understanding of what that really meant. We just assumed that in 2021, the county would rezone the property to MC use. After operating the marina for a few years, we started to realize the obstacles that non-conforming use would cause. For example, securing proper financing. Lenders do not like non-conforming use. Securing proper permits because we are in a residential zone, and just in general, the ability to enhance the facility to accommodate needs for the marine business. Even at MA2 proposed by OPZ, it limits our ability to expand our existing service facilities and new boat showroom. We are close to the MA2 maximum site coverage today. MB would allow us to expand our service center and new boat showroom. PYY Marine is one of the only full-service marinas on Rock Creek and a few in Anne Arundel County that offers boat sales, service, owner education, boat slips, storage, fuel, towing, pump out, and boat accessories. All other commercial marinas in Rock Creek are zoned MB. We are a community-focused business owners. We originally requested MC zoning, decided to go to compromise for the better good of the community, and request MB to be able to meet our needs and satisfy the majority of the community. It will allow us to build a facility. Thank you.
Thank you. Karen Ferda?
Karen Ferda, 1322 River Road. I live across Rock Creek from PYY Marina. I support the recommended MA2 zoning so that it eliminates the non-conforming use. I can understand their position. I oppose the MB amendment. We want to preserve our natural resources, maintain the character of existing neighborhoods, and redevelop to improve the lives of our residents for opportunity for all. Past small area and general development plans were ignored both by politicians and land speculators whose contributions funded their campaigns. It was pay to play. These words are from County Executive Pittman's intro to Plan 2040. PYY asserts that they operate MC type non-conforming use. The county land use and zoning GIS map shows the most current use as commercial marina MA1. PYY asserts other marinas have better zoning. These marinas are in R2 areas, not R5 residential neighborhoods like PYY. The average cost of a used boat on PYY's website last week was 4 times the per capita income in their zip code. Our residents are not purchasing and storing boats at PYY. We launch John boats and kayaks at the community ramp. We fish, and on hot days, the kids cool off in Rock Creek. These activities become unsafe with MB zoning, increased pollution, and large boat traffic. MB zoning inequitably enriches the PYY owners at the expense of neighborhood residents' safe access and enjoyment of the bay. Your vote for MB2 would not preserve natural resources, not maintain neighborhood character, or improve residents' lives by offering opportunity for all. I do support MA2 because I understand their non-zoning position, but please consider the future of the youth.
Thank you. Benjamin. Are you Benjamin? I can't pronounce your last name. Would you do it for me? Say that again.
Henniges.
Oh, lovely. Thank you. You have 2 minutes, sir.
Ben Henniges, property owner in Rock Creek. I'm here against the MB amendment. What's at issue here is granting PYY the opportunity to further develop the property. But development comes at a cost. Further development would increase boat traffic, resulting in more pollution, more erosion, fewer aquatic life, and less enjoyment by other water activities. If increased trash in the creek is the objective, then vote for MB2. If increased pollution, notably noise pollution, water pollution, and oil slicks, if this is the objective, then vote for MB2. If a permanent change to the character of our residential neighborhood is the objective, vote for MB. If more erosion of our shorelines due to increased boat traffic is the objective, then vote for MB. If paving 80% of the critical area, resulting in polluted stormwater runoff, is the objective, vote for MB. The creek is for all use. However, increased boat traffic make unsafe water for watercraft like paddleboards, john boats, and kayaks. If limiting water activities to large boats only is the objective, vote MB. Lastly, Anne Arundel County land use map has the property classified as MA1. MB would greatly increase the value of the marina, and what's at stake in this vote is the financial benefit of a few, resulting in less enjoyment of the water for many. Protect Rock Creek, vote no on MB. Thank you.
Thank you. This panel is dismissed. Is Mr. Pasquale Carinanti in the chambers at this time? Blake Wilson, Alexis Herrick, Deanne Lee, Mark Adams, great. Thank you. Okay. Who is? Oh. Martin Benz, Buddy Smith, Douglas Loop. Really working on my phonetics tonight. Alexis Herrick, who's first here? Miss Lee, Deanne Lee, you have the floor.
Dear members of the council, my name is Deanna Doach Lee, and I am here in support of the rezoning of the Pasadena Yacht Yard. I'm at 8279 Waterford Road in Pasadena. I'm a member of the Doach family that formerly owned the Pasadena Yacht Yard. My father, Louis Doach Sr., bought the farm property in 1945 and established it as a marina in 1949 under R5 non-conforming use zoning. We sold the marina to Mr. Hatcher, Mr. Bentz in 2015 under that same zoning. During the comprehensive plan process in 2011, the Office of Planning and Zoning proposed to rezone our property from R5 to MC. This was without our knowledge nor our request. At that time, we were not sure of our future plans for the marina, as my father had passed away, and we did not know if we would keep it as a marina or possibly seek to develop the property. We made a request of our then councilman, Derek Fink, to amend Bill 66-11 and return the zoning MC back to R5. The bill was amended, Amendment 2, and the property remained R5. We were told by the planning staff that the property could be rezoned if we desired to MC during the next comprehensive plan in 10 years. Since we did decide to keep the property as a marina, we should have continued with the county's recommendation of MC zoning 13 years ago. I hope my testimony helps shed some light on the zoning history of the property. Thank you.
Thank you. Alexis Herrick? No. Mark Adams?
I'm here in support of the change for PYY zoning. My wife and I are lifelong Pasadena residents and have lived in the community of Rivera Isles for 40 years. I understand some of the residents having concerns over the rezoning, but not all the residents are against it. Most issues with the rezoning are being exaggerated. We have 2 boats and we're always fishing and cruising on the Chesapeake Bay. We like to support our local businesses. restaurants like Primo's, Two Rivers, Johnny's, the local tackle shop, Fishbones on Mountain Road. So prior to the existence of PYY, we had our boat service in Baltimore County because it was hard to find certified outboard mechanics close to home. So we support the MB zoning for PYY. We think it's a reasonable compromise between the MA2 and the MC zoning. The MB zoning will allow PYY to operate their business and provide a sheltered environment for their employees to work in year-round. I feel businesses like PYY allow more Pasadena and Anne Arundel County residents access to the Chesapeake Bay than just the residents that have waterfront homes. Thanks for your time.
Thank you. Martin Benz?
Good evening, everyone. My name is Martin Bentz. I'm an owner of PYY Marine, located on Rock Creek in Pasadena. Lifelong Anne Arundel County resident. Most of those years were in Pasadena. My business partner, Mike Hatcher, and I purchased PYY with the intention of providing a first-class marine business. And over the last several years, we've made a significant amount of improvements to PYY, making it one of the few full-service marinas in the county. And we wish to make even more improvements, but we're hampered by our current zoning. So when we purchased PYY in 2015, it was zoned residential, non-conforming MC marine commercial use. It was owned, operated, and occupied by the Doach family. In fact, a member of the Doach family resided on the property when we purchased it. And we were informed that under their ownership, the Doach family ownership, Anne Arundel County approved the property to be zoned MC. So just a quick recap, PYY was and remains operating as MC Marine Commercial Use. PYY was already approved for MC Marine Commercial zoning by the county, and it was for those reasons that our initial zoning request was for MC. However, after much consideration, Mike Hatcher and I, we decided for the good of the community to modify our request to MB zoning. And our zoning request, it's going to allow Mike and I to continue to deliver improvements to PYY that are fitting for the business and fitting and tasteful to our surrounding communities. Greatly appreciate everybody's time, and I ask that you support the amendment to zone PYY to MB.
Buddy Smith? No? Douglas Loop?
I'm Douglas Loop. I'm 1318 Edna Road, Pasadena, Maryland. I'm here to talk in opposition to the proposed amendment to the zoning for the Pasadena Yacht Yard to MB. I've been a waterfront homeowner in Rockview Beach community for 35 years. This community and our community beach near the headwaters of Rock Creek is directly across the creek from the Pasadena Yacht Yard. I'm in favor of rezoning the PYY property to MA2, like commercial is recommended by the Office of Planning, Planning Advisory Board, and Stakeholder Advisory Committee. I'm strongly opposed to the rezoning to MB, general commercial, that's being proposed as an amendment. Our community consists of many long-term residents, this is my family, and many new residents with young families, several multi-generation families whose parents, grandparents have lived and raised their families there. We all share the same appreciation of living in this quiet community and having access to the relatively tranquil peace of the bay. PYY has been a good neighbor in the residential area where they're located in our close waterfront community. The MA2 zoning allows PYY to continue their current scope of operation without the constraints of their current non-conforming residential zoning, and provides for an expansion of their business to operate a tavern and a restaurant. The MA2 zoning also provides the residents in the area adjacent to PYY property and surrounding waterfront community protection against any future potential development of multi-level watercraft storage racks, which is allowed under the MB zoning. This type of operation and the consequent noise and increase in vehicle and boat traffic would dramatically and permanently alter the peace, quiet, and relative tranquility of our shared community.
Thank you, sir. Jennifer Smith? Okay, you're next on my list.
Okay, thank you. Hello, my name is Jennifer Smith, and I am the current president of the Lombardi Beach Community Association, located on Nabbs and Stony Creek in Glen Burnie. We are a community comprised of 40-plus homes, an MA2 commercial marina, and a restaurant. As with PYY, our marina and restaurant have gone through new ownership in the last decade, and they have completely upgraded and renovated this property. Our community members view this as a huge asset. It gives our non-waterfront residents a place to keep their boats, and boat owners can have maintenance done. This has increased our property value. I'm here today to show my support for PYY. PYY is the only full-service marina on Rock Creek, and there are only a handful of full-service marinas in the area. Their zoning should match their full-service use. In recent years, PYY has made huge environmental upgrades. They no longer operate on septic system and have tapped into the public sewer. They have replaced almost 300 feet of bulkhead, preventing shoreline degradation and erosion. I can tell you, PYY has high regard for the environment and the health of Rock Creek. I know the Rockville Beach community has concerns about the rezoning of PYY, primarily the concern that more boat traffic could potentially increase boat wake, resulting in damaging to boats, docks, and bulkheads. Rock Creek has a 7-day-a-week, 6-mile-per-hour zone, so additional boat wake should not occur. Additionally, Stony Creek and Nabbs Creek have no speed limit during the week, and we have not seen any of these issues that I just mentioned. I understand that by rezoning PYY to MB Commercial would give them the ability to build a restaurant or install a boatel, but that is not their intention. There are already dining options at Mike's Crab House, Sam and Maggie's, or by becoming a member of the Maryland Yacht Club. PYY simply wants to be able to provide boat maintenance year-round in a comfortable and out-of-the-element setting.
Thank you. This panel is dismissed. At this time, I'm going to call up Debbie Lodato, Jennifer Jackson, Ronnie Starling, John Gordon, Faith Loudon, and Susan Deaver. Ms. Lodato, are you with us? You have the floor.
Am I on? Okay, good. Hi, I'm Debbie Lodato, and I live at 2106 Bayfront Terrace in Annapolis. I'm speaking on behalf of the Predicary Point Community Association Board. We're here to oppose the rezoning of Safe Harbor Predicary Point from an MA3 to an MA2. What I'm specifically concerned about is centrally focused on Safe Harbor Predicary Point rezoning from an MA3 to an MA2. The big change under this rezoning umbrella is the allowance of fuel sales and the possibility of a restaurant or tavern at Safe Harbor Yacht Club. We flood multiple times a year and are directly open to the bay. Allowing the rezoning to take place is a safety issue to our community. With only one way in and out of the community, no sidewalks, street lights on Bayfront Terrace, changing the zoning doesn't add up. We are on septic, well, and which does not match a larger zoning usage. You've heard about the neighbors walking their dogs and children on these narrow roads. The idea of the county would rezone Safe Harbor into an MA3 would increase traffic flow and hazardous material trucks into our quiet neighborhood with fuel, making it even more unsafe. Plan 2040 directs council to analyze small-scale non-conforming marinas in a residential area to determine whether a new zoning district and requirements should be established that are more compatible with the surrounding community. With that in mind, Safe Harbor Predicary Point is in the middle of an established residential community. A map which you have received prior from Mr. Price shows the precise location. We found that the OPZ and Stakeholder Advisory Committee both recommended that Safe Harbor remain zoned an MA3 approximately a year ago. We would like to understand what happened. Is County Council putting the desires of a larger U.S. company ahead of safety and well-being of our quiet community in Anne Arundel County? Looking on the map really does not do the same justice.
Thank you. Jennifer Jackson?
That's me. My name is Jennifer Jackson. I live on Holly Avenue in Pasadena. I'm a 24-year resident of Pasadena, off the peninsula, but in the Chesapeake cluster. Obviously, I was here to talk a little bit about the golf course, but also I have concerns with multiple zoning changes. As we know, the peninsula needs major infrastructure improvements to support further development along with our schools. I've read both Plan 2040 and Region 4's plan, and while traffic and safety issues of Mountain Road specifically are referenced numerous times, the only thing I can find in a section of the implementation plan is to conduct a study of traffic. This should have been done before zoning changes were looked at. I'm disappointed that these plans did not include anything to solve for existing issues over the next 16 years. I have concerns with the rezoning of 91 and 115 Ritchie Highway for residential townhomes. I would have brought this to Nathan's attention sooner, but I just saw it today. My neighborhood is extremely upset about this. This is a section of property between the Methodist Church and Harris Teeter. It backs right up to my neighborhood. PES is already getting 125 new families next year under redistricting. These families that are moving into this proposed development, which is commercial, but it is noted in the plans that it should be for townhomes. That is what the county has suggested in their plans. Those families would also go to the Chesapeake cluster, which would send more traffic down Mountain Road. My neighborhood would be directly impacted by the noise of Ritchie Highway from the tree removal, much like my friends on the Broadneck Peninsula who have been impacted by the loss of trees with the expansion of the trail. I am disturbed to hear from multiple property owners tonight that they did not request rezoning, and I don't know how any of these rezoning requests could be approved without verifying that they were in fact requested by the parties listed.
Thank you. Ronnie Starling? No. John Gordon?
Hi. My name is John Gordon, 133 Club Road, and I support Bill 2824 comprehensive zoning regarding its recommendation of MA2, light commercial zoning for the property of PYY, Pasadena Yacht Yard Road. MA2 has been recommended by the Office of Planning and Zoning, the Planning Advisory Board, and the Stakeholders Advisory Committee. Please oppose MB general commercial zoning that's being proposed as an amendment. MB is too aggressive for this site that is entirely residential area all around there. And it does not provide an opportunity for the public to have an assurance of rigorous review by the administrative hearing officer regarding the development of unsightly and noisy warehouse-style motels or multi-level watercraft racks, and a chance to speak to such development in the future. MA2 is appropriate zoning for this site. Thank you.
Thank you. Faith Loudon?
My name is Faith Loudon. I live at 8412 Garland Road in Lakeshore. I strongly agree with every person who's testified against having the Gulf Shore turned into a housing development. And we want desperately to get this voted on by you all that it will not happen. Thank you.
Thank you. Susan Deaver?
Good evening. My name is Sue Deaver. I live at 8248 Silver Run Court in Pasadena. I'm asking you to vote against any changes to the property known as Pasadena Golf Center, and to please vote for Councilman Volke's amendment in order to save time. And since we've heard from many of my fellow Pasadena neighbors to what their points that they made, I'll just say ditto.
Thank you. This panel is dismissed. It really would be helpful if we could just move along with the testimony. Karen Royer, please. Richard Brill, David Wilson, Bob Drusella, Denise Hightower, and Chloe Kerrigan. Karen Royer.
You turn it on. I'm Karen Royer. I live at 370 Harwin Drive in the community of Berrywood in Severna Park. The Berrywood Environmental Committee strongly opposes the upzoning in the greater Severna Park area that is proposed in Bills 2724 and 2824. We especially object to the proposed upzoning of the parcels listed in change numbers SVP 10 and 101. These 6 properties at 21 Hoyle Lane and 957, 959, 965, 969, and 973 Baltimore Annapolis Boulevard will all change from their current R5 to R10. This doubles the density on all the properties around the Severna Park and Ride on Ritchie Highway at an intersection that is constantly backed up with traffic north and southbound on Ritchie Highway, unable to get through multiple cycles of the light. These proposed density increases will be very detrimental to the environment, school capacities, traffic, which is already intolerable, and our very quality of life. We do not need or want more development in the greater Severna Park area, especially on Ritchie Highway, a major thoroughfare that is currently way over capacity, and Baltimore Annapolis Boulevard, which is also way over capacity because people use it to bypass Ritchie Highway. Traffic on our main roads and on our side roads is gridlocked every day, and the Magathie River is already so stressed by runoff that we are advised to not swim in it for 48 hours after a rainfall. There are numerous vacant commercial properties along Ritchie Highway. We don't want or need any more. Our infrastructure is already insufficient to handle the housing and commercial development that we already have in the greater Severna Park area. We urge the council to vote for Amendment 4 as introduced by Ms. Fiedler to restore the R5 zoning and preserve the character of our town.
Thank you. Richard Brill.
Hello, my name is Richard Brill, and I thank you for this opportunity to speak to you folks, and thanks, Madam Chairman. I'm a 40-year resident of Bayfront Terrace and live at 2105 Bayfront Terrace. I strongly oppose the proposed rezoning from MA3 to MA2 for the Safe Harbor Yacht Club. The property was developed as a community yacht club over 60 years ago, not for public use, but for the community was developed in 1960. And the recent history has shown and maintained that zoning, as the previous zoning requests have been denied, I think 2 or 3 times, and appeals have been denied as well. And as recently as last October, the SAC recommended and the Planning and Zoning approved keeping the existing zoning. So I don't understand what has changed in this past 6 months. The property is on a dead-end street. All houses are on well and septic, as that's been repeated before. There's no sidewalks or shoulders on the access road, no street lights, no speed control of any type, and safety is a major concern. Since Safe Harbors has occupied the yacht club, they've allowed the Freedom Boat Club and charter boats to come into the marina, and that has increased traffic tremendously. It's very worrisome for people who walk a lot on those streets, walk their dogs. There's a lot of small kids. And non-community members of the yacht club, Freedom Boat Club members, and charter boat clients are concerned with just getting to the marina as quickly as they can to get to their boats. And they have very little concern for the welfare of the community or the residents. So for these reasons, we request that the existing zoning remain. Thank you.
Thank you. David Wilson. No. Bob Drusella. Denise Hightower.
Hi, my name is Denise Hightower. I live at 565 Cardinal Drive.
I am the current president of the Laurel Acres Whippoorwill Estates Improvement Association in Pasadena off of Lakeshore Drive. I'm not going to reiterate what everyone else has said, but I will say that my community is universally also opposed to the change in zoning for the golf center complex. Thank you.
Thank you. Chloe Kerrigan.
Hello, my name is Chloe Kerrigan. I live at 810 Dave Francois Way in Elizabeth's Landing, and I support PYY in their request for MB zoning.
Thank you. This panel is dismissed. I have 4 more remaining names: Jack Neal, Amy Leahy, Thomas Marston, and Maureen Carr York. Mr. Neal?
Yes, thank you very much. Jack Neal, 695 Carlisle Drive in Arnold, on behalf of the Spriggs Farm Preservation Foundation. This is in regards to the change for CZ R4 ARN 102 at Spriggs Farm on the Magathie at 965 Bayberry Drive. Our appreciation to Councilperson Fiedler for bringing this to our attention. As a way of background, in 2010, the Department of Public Works Watershed Ecosystem and Restoration Services rated Spriggs parcel number 19 out of 35,000 parcels within the Magathie River Watershed Management Master Plan, having the highest rate for preservation. And the foundation worked in partnership with the county to secure local, state, and federal funds for the purpose of having the estate of Ruth Spriggs sell the property to the county. They chose the preservation option instead of development interest. Subsequent to the Spriggs Farm stakeholders and broadneck communities raising concerns for the proposed final recommendation of R2 from current R2OS, Recreation and Parks did issue an April letter restating the 2011 commitment that the property remain as outdoor public recreation or open space use in perpetuity. And the Department of Recreation and Parks has no plans to use the Spriggs Farm property for anything other than its covenant use as parkland. It's our understanding that the proposed zoning change is somewhat attributed to the requirements of the federal land and water conservation funding, that the property cannot decrease in value and rationale for the proposed zoning change. As stakeholders, we appreciate the county's continued commitment for preservation in perpetuity and for the environmental benefits and passive recreational uses provided by Spriggs Farm Park on the Magathie. And again, our appreciation to Councilperson Fiedler.
Thank you. Ms. Leahy.
Thank you. I have a quick question. I thought there used to be a clock up here so you could see what your timing was. So, thank you. I want to see how much time I have. Thank you. Amy Leahy, 712 Monmouth Avenue, Severna Park, Maryland. And I'm speaking here on behalf of my position at Greater Severna Park Council. I'm the Vice President for Public Affairs. I've lived in Severna Park for 33 years. And the area that I would like to bring to your attention was already hit on by Ms. Royer when she was up here, which is the rezoning that's proposed by the Office of Planning and Zoning at the location of B&A Boulevard and Jones Station Road, where major traffic backups occur due to the conversion of several heavily traveled roadways. A park and ride sits between this location and Ritchie Highway, bringing more buses and cars to the area, while B&A Boulevard is a 2-lane road with no shoulders and no ability to handle the current stream of vehicles. The Arnold Fire Station is also within 500 feet, and the B&A, I only mention that because it's a fire station, and the B&A bike path runs parallel to the road, making crossing at that intersection for bicyclists even more hazardous. As a matter of fact, about 25 years ago, I actually witnessed a bicyclist getting hit by an auto that was attempting to bypass traffic by going off the pavement and around the stopped vehicles. This driver didn't realize that the cars had stopped to allow the cyclist to cross at the crosswalk. And she suffered a concussion and broken shoulder as a result. Thank goodness the Arnold Fire Station was right there. They were they were able to take care of her. And it was after that, very soon after that, that four-way stop sign was put in on all four corners. Baltimore-Annapolis Boulevard is also an historic road which does not allow for road improvements such as widening. To increase the density of the area by changing the R5 residential zoning to R10, allowing for denser development would be detrimental to the communities and the residents close by.
Thank you. Mr. Marston.
Council, thank you very much for the opportunity to present. I'm speaking in support of the golf course change to R10 because this land is very close to commercial facilities, restaurants, shopping center. It is also close to Pasadena Senior Center. I am a senior. I know I will be selling my single-family house and moving to an area where I want to recreate on the water. I will not be able to find affordable housing if I'm obligated to purchase a single-family 4-bedroom house, which is predominantly what's in this area. Townhome, small single-family, slab on grade will be affordable for me and enable me to continue to live in the area and utilize Pasadena Senior Center, which is approximately a half a mile away. So I am confused why we would say no to upzoning an area of land that's close to highway, easily accessed to get away from the dead end, close to shopping, close to services, and say, let's leave it as low density. The alternative would be make it open space, permit it never to be developed again, plant it in with trees and native plants, because I'm an advocate for that. But zoning needs to enable affordable housing in our county. Otherwise, we're sending our children someplace else, and our seniors have to leave. Thank you.
Thank you. Maureen Carr-York.
Thank you. I am the president of the Greater Severna Park Council, which is an umbrella group of community associations and homeowners associations in the Greater Severna Park area. Our territory, if you will, includes parts of Millersville, Pasadena, and Arnold, as well as all of Severna Park. I want to step up on the same area that has been mentioned by Ms. Royer and Ms. Leahy. That is the area surrounding the B&A Boulevard and Jones Station Road, where an upzoning is proposed to R10. This area is already very crowded, as has been mentioned. It is a 4-way stop that backs up for miles some days. People do use it as a quick cutoff from a blocked up Ritchie Highway. And it is an historic African-American community which has always existed in that place and which is a lovely community. We are hoping that you will see that the area cannot absorb higher density housing. The land right now is also prone to flooding. We have major flooding that occurs on B&A Boulevard just north, right around Hoyle Lane, right down to Jones Station Road, because of underground springs that nobody in the past 20 years has been able to get under control. In the winter, it ices over, and if further digging up of the land and attempts to build more housing is put in there, it can only get worse. We've seen multiple attempts by the county, the state, and landowners to correct the problem, and it just hasn't been available to be corrected. So we are hoping that you will see the difficulties with this proposal, which was not sought by anybody in Severna Park, and turn it down. Thank you.
This panel is dismissed. At this time, that concludes the individual names that had signed up in advance. Is there anyone else in the audience who wants to come forward at this time as a last call for public testimony? We have 6 seats. When they're filled,
Thanks. I actually think this is better than what it could have been.
I'm going to ask that we remain calm and quiet in the audience and give the folks at the table the respect. Oh,
That's it too, man.
what happened? Okay. We're going to start here. Matt, we're going to start with you. You can state your name and address for the record.
My name is Rosario Izquierdo. I live directly across from Safe Harbor Marina in Pedickery Point, and I wanted to share some pictures with you. I would like to put them into the record. I've sent this one, but I could only get one in. Thank you. In June 2022, we learned just how unsafe Safe Harbor Pedickery Point could be. We have lived across the street from the yacht club for over 30 years and have stored our boats there, still do. This is the first time we realized just how dangerous that could be. By the time we noticed the fire, it was already spewing a billowing tower of thick smoke that blocked the sun, leaving the water black. We called 911 and waited for first responders, watching the fire burn in horror as it jumped from boat to boat, popping and bursting with new towers of flame. We expected explosions that would burn all the boats and threaten our home. It took 69 firefighters and more than a dozen fire trucks and fireboats from all over the region to quell the fire hours later, well into the night. Did I mention there's no hydrants in our neighborhood? No. I would like to enter into the record these and a video of our experience that night. Changing the zoning to permit fuel tanks would only make our community less safe and threaten more pollution in our creek. In the pictures, you can see the oil slick that resulted from this fire going into our already endangered creek. It's not a hardship for people not to have fuel there. Sandy Point is just, 10 minutes down the bay. Since Safe Harbor purchased the yacht club, the class of members has changed for the worse. A few examples. Drunks exiting the gate screaming at my husband's 80th birthday party.
Thank you, ma'am. Your 2 minutes has expired. If you'd like to leave those for the record, you can take them out of the frames and hand them to Madam Secretary here at the table in pink. And sir, when you're ready, you have 2 minutes.
My name is Joseph Larson. I live in Harmonswood community in Hanover. I've appeared before the county council before in my other capacity. I am appearing now as a private citizen with experience in public safety. I'm a volunteer first responder at Lakeshore. I am in opposition of the rezoning for the golf center. Simply the infrastructure cannot handle it. The infrastructure has Mountain Road with no bike lane, no pedestrian. We've had numerous pedestrians killed, cyclists hit, motor vehicle collisions, and if anybody's been on a mountain road at 3 o'clock on a school day, you'll know what I'm talking about. So the turning into the golf center, there is no left turn from Mountain Road, or from Route 100. That would be a serious change in the routing of the roadway. And one way in and one way out, if there is an incident, people are not getting in, people are not getting out. So I just want to speak from a voice of experience with public safety and in that area. Thank you.
Thank you, sir. Next.
My name's Jeff Wilson, 21
2121 Harbor Drive. I'm part of the Hickory Point community and here to speak against the safe harbor changes as well. Just to add on to what some of our colleagues had brought up, I have a give a mouse a cookie story, or give an inch, take a mile story. That was originally zoned MA1 and was originally going to be part of the community. Just before the community hit 50% sales, where the HOA would have taken over, the developer bait and switched and took over that marina. And then they changed it to an MA3 under the guise that he didn't have enough members to justify funding. Since then, we've gotten to where we are now. During COVID, Safe Harbor bought the property and started using it commercially. As COVID has retracted, we've identified that now we're using it commercially and we're seeing the impacts of that traffic. It's surprising to me that we're here discussing this when they're already in violation of the zoning laws, and then we're going to discuss possibly approving them as somehow it doesn't make sense to me. We should be punishing the fact that they're not following the zoning laws rather than accommodating this $3.2 billion company who's buying these properties up. It sold at $2.7 million, which that property would have been, if those 3 properties that make up the marina were sold today as empty lots, they would sell for that same amount of money. Safe Harbor is going to pull a windfall out of this change. That property will be worth far more than they paid for it. I don't think that's appropriate either. I'll rest there. Thank you.
Thank you, sir. Ma'am?
Hi, my name is Jamie Harris. I'm a resident of Revel Downs. As many of you may know, this is a community that's directly adjacent to Route 50, and I'm here to advocate for my community as well as others negatively affected by the development of the Broadneck Trail. My family and I recently moved back to the county from Baltimore City 4 years ago for better quality of life, and until recently, we really loved being a part of the community of Revel Downs. Unfortunately, the majority of the trees providing a natural barrier between our community and Route 50 have been felled for the trail. Prior to the removal of the trees, the noise of traffic was negligible, but it is no longer. Not only are my community members noticing the change, but every guest that has come to my home since the trees were felled have commented on the new roar of the traffic that they never noticed prior. Beyond the noise, the added vibration has negative impact to those of us with health issues. I suffer from a debilitating neurological condition that is instigated by vibration, and this is literally negatively impacting my ability to be a functioning member of society. And moreover, my home is no longer a safe and comfortable space for me. So I do not support the adoption of the Region 4 plan, as it does not address the issues of diminished community character, the devaluation of our properties, and decreased quality of life. I am advocating for a sound barrier built with materials that absorb vibration, as concrete sound barriers have been proven ineffective for homes farther than 300 feet from the wall, and as well as landscaping to replace the lost trees. I am asking you to please advocate for the quality of life for your community members, and I thank you for your time.
Thank you. Next, Ms. Guy.
Nancy Guy, 800 Southern Hills Drive, Arnold, Maryland. I oppose the entire Region 4 plan, for it will destroy the tree canopy, wildlife, nature, and our largest estuary, the Chesapeake Bay. The golf course development will only bring money to the state, and developers will do nothing to preserve the character of the land and the residents' homes and their way of life. All you are doing is feeding into the pockets of developers, destroying the Chesapeake Bay, and bringing more traffic to areas that are already over their limit. Please stop destroying Anne Arundel County. People want their freedom and ability to roam. That is one of the reasons why we have lived here for so long and have enjoyed it. It is very upsetting to see another part of Anne Arundel County being uprooted and totally destroyed. Please stop this insanity. Thank you.
Thank you. Ms. Guy.
Hello, my name is Mary Guy, 605 North Bestgate Road. Although I do not reside in Region 4, I have family and friends who do. I'm here to oppose Region 4 rezoning, development, etc. We in Region 7 use many of the same arguments that I've heard here tonight in opposition to OPC's recommendation to develop, and found that the developers and small business owners receive priority. Some of the things that we had discussed were safety, quality of life, stormwater runoff, lack of infrastructure, maintaining tree canopy and environment, importance of Chesapeake Bay and tributaries, commercial residential rates, current building, public safety, limited access that we have, like the drawbridge at Weems Creek Bridge, and birds, and protecting birds, wildlife, et cetera, et cetera. None of those made a big difference. The SAC was not representative of our community. Publicizing and notifying the community of meetings and happenings was sparse. We even asked for more than one meeting in the community and were denied by OPZ. Transparency was and remains a problem. To all in Region 4, I strongly suggest you review the videos of the county council meetings and the minutes that are available online. You'll see that that you too are at risk of your voice not being heard. Preserve, conserve, and protect is supposed to be the Anne Arundel County mantra. Please be vigilant and hold the county council and county executive accountable to all residents and taxpayers in Anne Arundel County, regardless of your region, in the comprehensive plan. Thank you.
Thank you. This panel is dismissed. There's one more seat. Yep. Thank you. We're going to start here, sir. State your name and address for the record, and you have 2 minutes. Please listen for the beep. Thank you.
My name is Wayne Foy. I live in 842 Swift Road, Pasadena. I'm opposed to this golf center proposal. I see that the county executive has proposed these two items, and I don't know why you would put that heavy density in an already heavily dense area on a dead-end road. My suggestion would be maybe to put that operation in Davidson, in where he lives.
Sir, state your name and address for the record. You have 2 minutes. Sir, I'm sorry. We're going to have to, can you please remove your sign? They're not allowed in the chambers. State. Thank you.
Madam Chairwoman, members of the council, Ben Wexler, 185 Admiral Cochran, Annapolis, Maryland, 21403. I'm here speaking in support of Pasadena Yacht Yard and Amendment Number 1, the request for MB zoning. I've been doing this for a while, and my impression of what happened here and what you've heard this evening is actually quite remarkable, in that you've mostly heard people come out on a Monday evening asking for a rezoning. And I think that is very, very unusual. And part of that is this is a very good request. This is a yacht yard, full-service yacht yard on Rock Creek that's been there since 1949, since prior to the county's first comprehensive zoning in 1952. It's been operating as a non-conforming commercial type, MC commercial type marina since 1952, and it's been a good neighbor. And you heard testimony that in the last comprehensive zoning, the county staff and the county council was actually prepared to have this be an MC zone. Now we are here asking for the compromise position, MB, which is a step back from what was previously recommended. These property owners, the new property owners, want to be good neighbors. They want to be consistent with water quality. And a lot of the concerns, or some of the concerns that we've heard today, are frankly issues that will be addressed during the development process, issues with regard to water quality, pollution, and such. And I would just kind of sum up, this is a good request. These are good neighbors. MB is appropriate, and you've heard from the many folks in the audience tonight. Thank you.
Thank you. Next, sir.
I'm here tonight, and I'm disputing a rezoning issue of a family property. The May 7th meeting at Jacobsville, I learned that my 93-year-old mother's property, 1628 Wall Drive, was previously designated open space without her knowledge. Any designation of open space is unacceptable to us and to her. She wants the complete parcel returned back to R2. She was never informed of this change, and I am appearing here on her behalf. This property has been in my family since 1963. We've maintained it for more than 60 years. We've had horses on the property through the 80s. Thereafter, it was kept primarily in its natural state. We have never attempted to develop it, nor do we intend to do so. We love this beautiful buffer between the houses. The first and only communication with this open space zoning from Anne Arundel County came in a letter April 16th of 2024. This entire parcel is now open space. However, the map that I observed showed this without her knowledge or any of our family members' knowledge. Our concern, this open space is published in the Anne Arundel County rezoning website, is vague, and it appears to invite public access and public use of private property since it abuts the Weinberg Park, thereby exposing us to the liability, undesirable conduct, squatters, vandalism, just plain intrusion of our property and our rights. Based on the definition of open space, designating private property as such appears to be a seizure of our property by Anne Arundel County. This property is adjacent to the Weinberg Park, and we just want it restored back to the zoning that it originally was.
Madam Chair.
Mr. Volkey?
Thank you. I don't mean to interrupt public testimony. I don't usually do this, but Mr. Rose, you didn't say your name yet, but I already got your sister's request, and we're putting in that amendment. Thank you.
Okay, thank you.
Thank you. Sir?
Good evening. For the record, Paul Higgins. I'm going to pick up where Mr. Roby started tonight. And I'm going to pick up with, I was thinking about, what could I say? We all know about Mountain Road, so I'm going to leave that alone. I'm going to leave the golf course alone. But what I'm going to go back to is back in 2004, the council, your predecessors, approved two bills. The Pasadena Marley Neck Area Small Area Plan and the Lake Shore Small Area Plan. I would encourage you to get it and read it, okay? It doesn't say much anything different than what's up on that screen, okay? During that time, I chaired that committee. And as the chair, we had a developer come before us and give us a rendering of a proposed project. Happened to be right next to my neighborhood. It was going to be up zone R15 for a senior center. Okay? That senior center turned into, in 2024, what is now Creekstone, which is, you all see me back budget time talking about the money we're sinking into Jumpers Hole Road now to satisfy this. So as you move forward and take the amendments into consideration, the decisions you're making today, I learned the hard way in 2004. You're making decisions today in legislations that opens the door for things just to continue to erode. I encourage you to listen to the councilman from District 3. He's very well connected. I would encourage you to respect one another's councilmatic respect for each other. This is a big area, and not one of you up there knows what's going on in the other one.
Thank you, sir.
Please work through this and.
Thank you, sir.
Right.
Ma'am?
8 Springdale Road in Pinehurst. I'm also a business owner. I own a restaurant on Mountain Road, and I've been there 38 years. Well, I travel Mountain Road many times a day. We have a situation, it's going to be at Brumwell's Market. They're putting a big development there. As bad as Mountain Road is now, we do not have a clue what's going to happen when that property is fully developed. To get down Mountain Road or get up Mountain Road is a nightmare. But besides that, I want to say it doesn't matter to me. I don't care if it's affordable housing or if it's $1 million townhome. Mountain Road cannot handle it. There is just no way in and no way out. Not too long ago, the road was shut down 3 times in 1 week. And when I say shut down, I mean everything comes to a stop. Not too long ago, there was something going on. Parents had to go to the school and get their kids by. They went boat and came up the back way because they need to get their children home. So unless you travel Mountain Road, I advise you, go down there and see what we're talking about. It's not a pleasant thing to go through.
Thank you. Sir, you have the floor.
Madam Chair, Elliot Powell, Whitehall Development, 1 Annapolis Street, boating and golfing. My wife is not going to believe I was at a councilmatic hearing all night. I'm here in support of PIOY's amendment number 1. I have nothing new to add that hasn't been said already, but I want to reiterate the gratefulness and gratitude that we have for many of the citizens from Pasadena that are here tonight who are in support of PIOY. As Mr. Wexler said, it takes a lot to come and testify in support of a zoning, and it's a very appropriate zoning, MB, for PIOY. Thank you very much. That concludes my testimony.
Thank you. This panel is dismissed. Is there anyone else in the chambers at this time that would like to testify on bills 2724 or 2824 at this time? No, ma'am. No, you've spoken already. Thank you, ma'am. I bet I know what you're going to say, though. It's okay. Sir, when you're ready, you are recognized.
Hello, everyone. Thanks for this opportunity to be able to discuss my concerns. Again, 2824. I guess I got the number right. That's what we're talking about, right?
Mm-hmm.
Okay, so I'm just here to support upzoning from R1 to R2. I live in Mulberry Hill, which is about, my family's been there for 150 years, as well as about 70% of the residents there. And we have, on the north side of Mulberry Hill Road, there's very little of anybody being able to upzone to R2. Many of us are trying to find places for our children to build homes or to live. Others just want to increase the wealth of their property. But the bottom line is that on the other side of the street, there are no, people have done multiple houses on one lot. On my side of the street, and I have to say, we're talking about 80% of which have been there over 100 years, and they happen to be African Americans. No one, to my knowledge, has an R2 zone. And we have children and people who want to live in those neighborhoods, maintain our history, being there, majority Naval Academy workers who have lived there. And as myself, as coming from Mulberry Hill and now a doctor at a university, it has given me everything I want. But my children, they won't have the opportunity to live there. Why? Because I'm R1 and I have enough property to perhaps allow them one place to build. We looked at the ADU. There's some septic issues there. But I just want to say that, equity is an issue. And some of the things that we're talking about took place long before you all came along. So we're really, I'm advocating for a number of people I've talked to. I've just learned of this opportunity through Amanda. Is that my bell? But anyway, there are a number of other people in my neighborhood who want the same thing. Thank you.
Thank you, sir. Ma'am?
Yes. I'm Heather Burlett from 924 Pine Trail, Arnold, Maryland. I don't know that this is appropriate time, as I came in for another reason, and this opportunity is presenting itself. I don't see any specific mention, but I just wanted to go on record that after Spriggs Farm was sold, the county has since proposed the possibility of zoning that in such a way that they would make a yacht, a marina type launch, which is currently approved as just kayaking. I think that this concern on my part has been taken care of, and I've heard my councilwoman, Amanda Fiedler, has assured me that it probably is safe. I'm mentioning it today to get it on the record that we're concerned about Spriggs Farm. We as a community, well, 3 communities, Stonington, Olmsted Estates, and Bayberry, tried to get that property. We considered buying it for community asset. And when we were assured by the county that it would be maintained as open space, the 3 communities decided that that was probably a sound decision. So just wanted to get it on record that I hear so many concerns that neighborhoods are not feeling prepared for these changes. We do not want to be jerked around there, please. Thank you.
Thank you. This panel is dismissed. The public hearing on Bills 27-24 and Bill 28-24 is now closed. Madam Secretary, please read the titles of Bill number 2724 and 2824.
Bill number 2724, an ordinance concerning General Development Plan, Region 4 Plan. Bill number 2824, an ordinance concerning Comprehensive Zoning, Region 4.
Thank you. And as we move into the amendment phase of this process this evening, there will be some back and forth. Some properties that folks are interested in require 2 amendments to actually make the change. Some only require 1 based on their notations in the 2 bills. Madam Secretary, for the upcoming amendments for the last 10 days before this legislation, were signs posted on the subject properties and was notice of the proposed change of zoning posted to the County Council website?
Yes, Madam Chair, they were.
Thank you. Would the administration or any of my colleagues like to speak before we begin the amendment process? Okay. Madam Secretary, please read amendment number 1 to Bill 2824.
Amendment number 1 to Bill 2824. This amendment changes the zoning of the property known as Parcel 8 on Tax Map 17, located at 1132 Pasadena Yacht Yard Road, Pasadena, from MA2 Light Commercial Marina to MB General Commercial Marina.
Mr. Volke, this is your amendment. You have the floor.
Thank you, Madam Chair. So I appreciate the comments from the people who came in and testified about the history of this property. I was going to go through that history, but I don't think it's necessary to repeat it other than to highlight a few key points. This property began operating as a marina before we had zoning in this county. It was operating in a residential area. It has continued in operation for 75 years in the same location. They have been determined by the Office of Planning and Zoning as a non-conforming MC use. I have been in discussions with the community and with the owners of this property for over 2 years. In those discussions, I have heard from both sides. I have heard the concerns from the community extensively. I have met with them over years. I have heard the concerns from the property owner over years. Ultimately, in zoning, we don't really have to tell why we're doing things because, as the Office of Law has given me some sound advice, we are presumed to know these things. But I'm going to note a couple things that we do know. I have reviewed with the community and with the owners all of the different types of uses that are allowed in these different zoning districts, in MA2, in MB, and in MC. I have reviewed with the community and the property owners the allowances for lot coverage in MA2, MB, and MC. I have encouraged the community and the property owners to meet with each other for years to try to come up with a solution that they are both pleased with. That has not happened, unfortunately. Some of the community, as you heard, is in support, right? I would love to have seen a universal decision, just like what we see with the golf center, where everybody comes out and everybody is unified and says, this is what we want, do it this way. Unfortunately, with this property, we were unable to get that. And so what happened is the business asked for MC, and I told them no, right? And that's why they amended their request down, because MC to me was inappropriate for this area. That has an impact on that business, right? That limits what they're able to do in that area. But I told them I didn't think that was the right thing for that area. I have said to many people in the community, the business owners, I've told this story plenty of times. I grew up in Poplar Ridge. My parents still live there. There was a marina down the street called Pleasure Cove Marina. When I was a boy, about 7 years old, I used to go to community meetings when they were fighting against the marina, the community was. They created something called the Bodkin Coalition. If anybody in here is old enough to remember that. It was both sides of the creek who were universally opposed to this. That's not what we've heard on PYY. It's not universal opposition. And that coalition continued to fight. There were covenants with the land. They were able to win some victories. They were able to slow things down. But in the end, that marina has developed quite extensively. And if you go down there, you'll see it. It has a very large building, white and yellow stripes. You can actually see it from an airplane when you're flying in. But that was the sort of background of my first involvement in community action and in what zoning looks like in this county. So I appreciate Mr. Higgins' point when he said, understand what you're doing has long-term ramifications. Well, I was here in the 90s. I remember those fights from a long time ago, and I recognize that. So I have taken this decision extremely seriously. I have not reached this decision lightly. I did not get to this decision overnight and just say, oh, we're going to do this. I have spent so much time and energy on this particular property. The golf center was easy, right? And we'll talk about that in a couple minutes. But this property has involved so much time and energy in terms of meeting, hearing from stakeholders. I specifically want to thank everybody who came out to my Jacobsville Town Hall. We did it at Jacobsville Elementary, and the Office of Planning and Zoning staff was there, and we had a lot of members of the community. And they expressed to me significant opposition and concern. So I knew what I was getting into with this. But as you've heard, from the other side, there are a lot of people who abut this property, who are directly at the entrance to this property, who are on board and who are supportive of this rezoning being MB. They're here in the white shirts. You've seen some letters. You've seen the public testimony they submitted. The common theme between my two amendments tonight is that I think the SAC got it wrong on both of them, right? You heard a lot about the SAC. I'll be blunt. I had one member on the SAC, and my member on the SAC voted against what the SAC recommended. That person came back to me and shared with me a lot of concerns about the way the SAC went forward and the way that they moved through the process. A lot of you have expressed those same concerns from reading the minutes and watching things. I don't mean in any way to be disrespectful to our professional planning staff because they are the experts. They know what they're doing. But I will make this point to you. They have recommended some things that I disagree with. And ultimately, you all have elected me to represent you in this community and to be the final backstop on this. And so with that, I have taken that very seriously. I have looked at all the uses. I have looked at the lot coverage. I have looked at what's permitted. I have looked at what the future could hold. I have talked to the landowners. I know that you can certainly sort of allow the camel's nose under the tent and all of a sudden, ta-da, you get a huge development. I recognize that. I know that's one of the concerns the community has with Pasadena Yacht Yard. However, I've talked to the gentlemen who own it. I have confidence that not only are they both Pasadena residents, which differs from many other marina uses, they are both people who I feel are straight up, and they have shared with me that their intention with this is to put in a storage, not to strike them, a service facility. I always get that wrong because the community is opposed to that. A service facility with a showroom component. That is what they've shared with me. So I'm saying that publicly on the record so that everybody hears that, right? Because if they come back in the future and they ask for something different than that, somebody's going to pull this testimony. They're going to pull my statements and they're going to say, wait a minute, those guys were not straight up about what they said. And that's going to be something that will be able to be reviewed by Office of Planning and Zoning, reviewed by the community, and will be able to be part of the record. But I'm putting that out there because I want people to understand I've done a lot of work on this to get to this decision, and while I recognize it is not a universally accepted decision, it is one where I feel comfortable that it is taking care of the community sufficiently, and that if there are future development plans that have to go through the development process, that the Office of Planning and Zoning will review those. Some of the most significant concerns the community has, I'll name two: botels, which are a conditional use in MB. They are not a permitted use, meaning they have to meet certain conditions that are in the code. And if they don't meet them, the Office of Planning and Zoning will deny their application. and restaurants. If they're going to do a restaurant and make any money, anybody in this room, y'all are pretty smart people, you got to have a liquor license, right? If you want to get a liquor license, there are hearings, you have to go before the board, there's a whole process. The community will have opportunities to weigh in on both of these. This is not the end for the community, and I recognize that this decision will not make everyone happy, but ultimately, I got elected to do the tough jobs sometimes, and this is a tough job. And so I have spent a lot of time on this, but this is ultimately where I think we are protecting the community and the concerns from both sides. So with that, I would ask for this motion, make a motion for this amendment to move forward.
Is there a second?
Rodvian, second.
Would the administration like to weigh in on amendment number 1 to Bill 2824?
Christina Pompa with the Office of Planning and Zoning. I do have prepared remarks, but I'm going to go a little off script tonight. This process has been going on now for 3 years for Region 4, and this is our first public hearing at the County Council. I think the way I would describe some of the public process is that we had limited involvement early on, and as we've gone along, more people have gotten involved. Early testimony that we heard on PYY was really in opposition, and a lot of times that can sway decisions that the planners make. I listened to all the testimony tonight. I tried to take notes. For the most part, I did not hear anything that I thought was egregious. I think what it comes down to on this is differences in a couple of uses between the MA2 and the MB. Uses that are either a special exception for MA2, and like with MC, maybe they're permitted, but with MB, they're conditional, as Mr. Volke stated. The woman who testified, I didn't get every name, but Ms. Doach, and I'm not sure that I'm pronouncing that right, former owner of the marina. I mean, she is right. The planners at the last comprehensive zoning had recommended this as MC, and then the owners at the time didn't want that to go forward. I have amendment to that 6611 in my notebook. So I can't sit here tonight and say that misinformation is flying. It's not. And obviously the councilman has done a tremendous amount of research, and tonight we heard more balanced testimony. Coming into tonight, I would say OPZ was definitely still opposed, because we hadn't heard more of the balanced testimony. And Section 18.2.106B1 does give the County Council the authority for comprehensive zoning. The Office of Planning and Zoning goes through an entire process, and we make a recommendation. We put that draft zoning into you. It came in on April 15th, 2024, and obviously now we're hearing from the members of the public. So I just wanted to provide that information for the record.
Are there any questions regarding Amendment 1 from my colleagues? Madam Secretary, please call the roll on Amendment number 1 to Bill 2824.
Ms. Rodvian.
Aye.
Ms. Ledbetter.
Aye.
Mr. Smith.
Aye.
Mr. Volke.
Aye.
Ms. Hummer.
Aye.
Ms. Fiedler.
Aye.
Ms. Pickard.
Aye.
7 in the affirmative, none in the negative. Amendment number 1 to Bill 2824 has been adopted.
Madam Secretary, please read Amendment number 1 to Bill 2724.
Amendment number 1 to Bill 2724. This amendment changes the planned land use for the property known as Parcel 365 on Tax Map 17, located 4358 Mountain Road, Pasadena, from residential medium density to a split of commercial and rural, removes the Village Center Development Policy Area overlay, the property, and changes the development policy area for the property from neighborhood preservation to peninsula.
Mr. Volke, this is your amendment. You have the floor.
Thank you, Madam Chair. So this is the amendment, the first of 2 amendments for the people who are here in the yellow shirts, so pay attention. So this is, as you understand probably, there are 2 bills, right? There is the zoning bill and there is the land use bill. This is the initial amendment that deals with land use, and then we will come back to the zoning amendment in a moment. As you can see here, there are multiple pieces of the plan that are changing with this amendment. Number 1, The land use is changing from neighborhood preservation to peninsula, which provides some additional protections for the property and takes it back to what it was. It also removes the village center development policy area overlay that had been placed on the property. That is going away. And then it changes the density of the property from residential medium density to a split of commercial and rural. So what this does, in summary, is effectively takes everything right back where it is today. Okay? That's what this is doing with the land use piece of it. We will get to the zoning piece next, but this is the first piece. I'm not going to belabor the point. You all made all the points I was going to make. I told you 2.5 hours ago what was going to happen. So anyway, let's get to the vote. Move the amendment.
Fiedler, second.
Would the administration like to discuss this amendment at this time?
Christina Pompa with the Office of Planning and Zoning. I don't have to talk about my first paragraph in my talking points because Mr. Volke has covered it. Just wanted to make a couple comments. I did refer to 18.2.106 during the previous amendment and the fact that the County Council has the authority for zoning changes. Comprehensive zoning is a standard practice across all jurisdictions in the state of Maryland that have planning and zoning authority. And it can be naturally contentious because it can result in recommended changes in areas where stakeholders don't want a change. But as I said before, ultimately the County Council has the power through the county code and is authorized to make changes to the zoning map via a comprehensive process. For this application, we really didn't hear any opposition until after the Planning Advisory Board had already held their deliberation for Region 4. So this thing cruised through the Stakeholder Advisory Committee, it cruised through the first preliminary draft that went out, and it wasn't until after the PAB had voted that we started to hear some opposition on the R10. And obviously it's very passionate opposition. I did attend a week and a half ago Mr. Volke's open house. I went up to Pasadena early, which meant I was driving around in that area in the 4:30-ish range. Yeah, so, and I agree with a lot of the testimony that we've heard about transportation issues in that one-way corridor being 6.5 miles, because I drove all the way down to the end to the park, so, and then came back, and also down to Gibson Island. So OPZ believes that many of the recommendations that have been made across regions to add housing capacity are modest in nature. This was a recommendation to go to R10 because the owner of the property asked for the R10 zoning. We obviously recognize that sweeping up zonings to increase residential housing, which we all understand we've got a shortage right now, would be met with fierce opposition, and we really haven't proposed that. I would say that the upzonings that have been proposed are more modest in nature. We are very concerned that through councilmanic courtesy, if each of the areas where we have proposed to add a little bit of housing capacity is overturned, that we will make no progress. And that is a serious concern, because at the end, when we've done all 9 regions and we look at what's been added to development capacity, it could be a serious problem for the county. And with that, I don't have any other comments.
Are there any questions of my colleagues, of the sponsor and/or the administration at this time? Madam Secretary.
Madam Chair.
Oh, I'm sorry, I couldn't see.
That's okay. I just have to give my colleague credit on this amendment. He jumped on this nearly immediately. There's a little known secret. I spent the first 8 years of my life living off of Lakeshore Drive, so I'm very familiar with Mountain Road. Still have friends there, but he was working on this the second it came off the press, so just giving him credit for that. Thank you.
Madam Chair. I just wanted to address the, because I've heard it a number of times on the councilmanic courtesy. I've prided myself, at least for District 1, of trying to find balance in, if you see some of the recommendations that were actually within the Bills 724 and 624, there are a number of different opportunities that we actually created some space there. And so the reason I bring it up, not because our planning officer is probably the best in the state. I've met a couple of them, but she is, literally, I took a picture of her sitting on these steps as she was taking notes, because I was going to post about it, because she really does work hard, and she uses her planning mind to find a balance and to sort of move us forward. And so I'm grateful for that. But as we sort of campaigned for these seats over the years, there's a certain pride in us representing our district and being in tune with the citizens and the neighborhoods and that elected us. And so as we were going down this process, I had Jessup in Hanover, Gary Moeller, he's probably watching this right now, so I'm saying your name just to put that on the record, who advocate and literally tell us many different things about the communities to try to maintain that balance. And so as we went down this path, your councilman obviously talked about the Pasadena, the golf course, a number of times over the last few months. And so just like I went to some of my colleagues in reference to Jessup and hoping that they would have faith in my ability to represent my district and bring forth the views of the people that live there. And ultimately, we're the ones that are going to be held accountable for the decisions we make. And so let those council members have that ownership so that they can be held responsible when they do things right and when they don't. And so we'll know that in a couple of years, but I think it's important to represent the wishes of those council members who represents that area, because they are there. Our Madam Chair is in Glen Burnie constantly. She knows Glen Burnie better than me. And so I'm going to lean on her to when it comes to zoning in that area, because that's her expertise. So I just wanted to put that on the record, because that's how I feel about this process. So thank you, Madam Chair.
Ms. Rodvian.
Thank you. I am going to support this amendment, but while I have a large group here, I do want to reiterate that we really do have a serious affordable housing crisis in our county. To put things in perspective, if you purchased a home in approximately the year 1970, the average cost was about $27,000. If we took that same house and put it in 2024 dollars, it would be about $213,000, which I think would be affordable. But we heard testimony from, actually I can't remember who earlier in this meeting that, I'm sorry? Thank you, from Ms. Fitzhenry, that our single-family homes are actually about 3 times that. So we really do have an affordability crisis. I am recognizing that this, because of the concerns about traffic on Mountain Road, and believe me, in Annapolis, we don't have the exact same concerns, but we do have similar concerns with Forest Drive, especially once you get further down the peninsula. And we have situations where we've got families trying to get their children picked up from their school, and they are separated for, 6 hours, 9 hours, because the road is blocked by a fallen tree or, some other emergency. But I really just want to put in folks' minds that this affordability crisis is real. We have a growing economy, which means we have a growing job market, which means we have more people coming to the county, and they need to have a place to live. So as I said, I recognize the concerns about the golf course and why, adding to the stress of Mountain Road is not the right decision. But I hope that folks in this room will understand that we really do need to find somewhere to put housing. Otherwise, we'll be locked up in gridlock traffic. We'll have folks who have jobs here but can't afford to live here and are commuting from the other side of the Chesapeake Bay. They're commuting from Baltimore County or Baltimore City or any place they can find that's more affordable. That's the reality of a county with a growing population and a growing economy. So I just wanted to put that really does weigh heavily in my thoughts about this, but I also understand and can empathize with the concerns about additional development at the route or at this intersection of Mountain Road.
Thank you. I'd like to remind everyone in the audience, if you could please keep your sidebar conversations to a minimum. We were very respectful when everyone was testifying before us, and we actually are running our business meeting here tonight. So at this time, I don't see any further lights. Madam Secretary, please call the roll on Amendment Number 1 to Bill 2724.
Ms. Rodbian?
Aye.
Ms. Ledbetter?
Aye.
Mr. Smith?
Aye.
Mr. Volkey?
Aye.
Ms. Hummer?
Aye.
Ms. Fiedler?
Aye.
Ms. Pickard?
Aye.
7 in the affirmative, none in the negative. Amendment Number 1 to Bill 2724 has been adopted.
Madam Secretary. Madam Secretary, please, God, I'm getting off. Please read Amendment Number 2 to Bill Number 2824.
Amendment Number 2 to Bill 2824. This amendment changes the zoning of the property known as Parcel 365 on Tax Map 17, located at 4358 Mountain Road, Pasadena, from R10 Residential to a split of C2 Commercial Office and RLD Residential Low Density.
Mr. Volkey, this is your amendment. You have the floor.
Thank you, Madam Chair. Same comments as before, companion amendment that changes the zoning. Move the amendment.
Second.
Is there any discussion from the administration?
We have the same comments as well.
Thank you. Any questions of my colleagues? Mr. Smith? Madam Secretary, please call the roll on Amendment Number 2 to Bill 2824.
Ms. Rodbian?
Aye.
Ms. Ledbetter?
Aye.
Mr. Smith?
Aye.
Mr. Volkey?
Aye.
Ms. Hummer?
Aye.
Ms. Fiedler?
Aye.
Ms. Pickard?
Aye.
7 in the affirmative, none in the negative. Amendment Number 2 to Bill 2824 has been adopted.
We're going to pause for just a minute.
Last call for the bus. We need next one. We don't know what just happened. You got everything you wanted.
I get it. It's confusing.
This is what you wanted. This is what you wanted. Thank you. You're welcome. Thank you.
I think we can go ahead. Madam Secretary, please read Amendment Number 2 to Bill 2724.
Amendment Number 2 to Bill 2724. This amendment changes the planned land use for the property known as Parcel 111 on Tax Map 32H, located at 965 Baltimore Annapolis Boulevard, Severna Park, from residential medium density to small business.
Ms. Fiedler, this is your amendment. You have the floor.
Thank you, Madam Chair. So this property owner did submit an application for a zoning change through the standard process.
Ms. Fiedler, you want to pause a minute? I'm sorry.
Sure.
Go ahead, Ms. Fiedler.
I'll just start again.
Start again.
It
Yeah,
wasn't picked
my
up.
apologies.
That's okay.
You should have waited a little longer.
So this property owner applied for C1 zoning through the standard process, and at that point in time, my small business bill had not yet been adopted. So through the process, SAC did not have a position. The PAB recommended R5, and the final recommendation for this property was R10. This property actually has a home on it that operates as a business. I drove by it for years without realizing there was a business inside. It looks like very much a house and like the houses around it. So all of these things considered, they are in this amendment for small business, which will be what small business now is in our code with the passage of the small business bill. Move to adopt.
Would the administration like to comment on Amendment Number 2 to Bill? Do we all need a break? Yes. Okay, let's get through this amendment and then we can take a break. But we have a lot of business remaining. So would the administration like to comment on Amendment Number 2 to Bill 2724?
Christina Pompa with the Office of Planning and Zoning. So yes, Ms. Fiedler did give some history on this. The owner had originally applied for C1 during the initial application period because they own a home elevator, stair lift, wheelchair, lift, and dumbwaiter business. And this 965 B&A Boulevard is one of 6 properties within a triangle formed by the B&A Boulevard to the west, Hoyle Lane to the north, and the Park and Ride site to the east. Originally, OPZ recommended small business at 965, 957, and 959 B&A Boulevard, and R10 at 969 and 973 B&A Boulevard and Hoyle Lane. While the SAC discussed this property and others in the triangle, they were not able to come to consensus for a recommendation. The PAB was opposed to upzoning in this area and opposed to expanding commercial zoning. As a result, after the PAB deliberation, and because of this area's proximity to the Park and Ride, OPZ changed its recommendation to R10 for all 6 properties. This area, sorry, I've already said that. Small business zoning for 965 B&A Boulevard is what OPZ had originally recommended for the property way back in the beginning. Therefore, OPZ can obviously support the amendment.
Ms. Fiedler.
Thank you. And this is the area that we heard public testimony on earlier. The other amendments are also in this area. It is a triangle filled with triangles of parcels in a very precarious position where you have the crossover from the Broadneck Trail is slated to go here. You have BNA, the 4-way stop as discussed, Route 2. It is already jam-packed and it does get pretty clogged on a regular basis due to Route 2 overflow.
Any other questions for Ms. Fiedler or the administration about amendment number 2? Madam Secretary, please call the roll for amendment number 2 to Bill 2724.
Ms. Rodvian.
Aye.
Ms. Ledbetter.
Aye.
Mr. Smith.
Aye.
Mr. Volkey.
Aye.
Ms. Hummer.
Aye.
Ms. Fiedler.
Aye.
Ms. Pickard.
Aye.
7 in the affirmative, none in the negative. Amendment number 2 to Bill 2724 has been adopted.
Madam Secretary, please read amendment number 3. Oh, did we want to take a
Take a
break?
5-minute.
Okay. Apologies, I'm rolling, so,
No, it's gotta
but I also need a cup of coffee. So the council is going to go into recess for, can we do this in 5 minutes? No. 7 minutes, 10 minutes, 10 minutes, 10 minutes. Max. 10 minutes. We'll be back at 9:32. Thank you. Madam Secretary, please read amendment number 3 to Bill 2824.
Amendment number 3 to Bill 2824. This amendment changes the zoning of the property known as Parcel 111 on Tax Map 32H located at 965 Baltimore Annapolis Boulevard, Severna Park, from R10 residential to SB small business.
Am I out of order?
No.
Okay. Ms. Fiedler, these are your amendment. This is your amendment. You have the floor.
Thank you, Madam Chair. This amendment is the sister to the previous amendment that passed. This is the zoning portion of that amendment for that property. Motion to adopt.
Would the administration like to weigh in on amendment number 3 to Bill 2824?
Same comments as before, Madam Chair.
Any other comments of my colleagues? Seeing none, Madam Secretary, please call the roll on amendment number 3 to Bill 2824.
Ms. Rodvian.
Aye.
Ms. Ledbetter.
Aye.
Mr. Smith.
Aye.
Mr. Volkey.
Aye.
Ms. Hummer.
Aye.
Ms. Fiedler.
Aye.
Ms. Pickard.
Aye.
7 in the affirmative, none in the negative. Amendment number 3 to Bill 2824 has been adopted.
This gets so confusing. Madam Secretary, please read amendment number 3 to Bill 2724.
Amendment number 3 to Bill 2724. This amendment changes the planned land use for the properties known as parcels 106, 107, 108, 112, and 115 on Tax Map 32, located at 21 Hoyle Lane and 957, 959, 969, and 973 Baltimore Annapolis Boulevard, Severna Park, from residential medium density to residential low medium density.
Ms. Fiedler, this is your amendment. You have the floor.
Thank you, Madam Chair. This is the triangles within the triangle. None of the owners for these properties applied for a zoning or land use change, and due to the restrictions of the area and traffic issues and all other statements made on the previous amendments, I put this amendment forward. Motion to adopt.
Would the administration like to comment on amendment number 3 to Bill 2724?
Christina Pompa with the Office of Planning and Zoning. Some of the comments that I made for 965 B&A Boulevard are relevant to this. I talked about some of the history of why we made the decision. Really, we were looking to try and balance and find an opportunity for some additional housing, especially adjacent to the park and ride. We obviously are concerned about some of these modest changes in zoning being rolled back. But we understand, what's going on with the triangle. So thank you.
Are there any questions of my colleagues regarding this amendment? No questions. Do we know how many acres this is in total with these 5 parcels?
We do not have that information at our fingertips, Ms. Pickard. But I don't believe that this is that big of an area. This is not like the golf center property, which is 30 acres. I would say this is between 5 and 10 acres in total.
Madam Chair.
Ms. Fiedler.
In the online chart that we have posted, 21 Hoyle, 973 B&A, 969 B&A. The acres for change difference for those 3 properties are 1.4.
Each?
Is that each, or is that in total, the change acre column?
That would be in total.
Thank you. And then 957 and 959 in total are 0.6 acres.
So it's a small area. I was off on my assessment.
By a lot.
You're absolutely right. I mean, I was like, ooh.
Okay, thank you. If there's no other questions or comments, Madam Secretary, please call the roll on amendment number 3 to Bill 2724.
Ms. Ravian.
Aye.
Ms. Ledbetter.
Aye.
Mr. Smith.
Aye.
Mr. Volkey.
Aye.
Ms. Hummer.
Aye.
Ms. Fiedler.
Aye.
Ms. Pickard.
Aye.
7 in the affirmative, none in the negative. Amendment number 3 to Bill 2724 has been adopted.
Madam Secretary, please read amendment number 4 to Bill 2824.
Amendment number 4 to Bill 2824. This amendment changes the zoning of the properties known as parcels 106, 107, 108, 112, and 115 on tax map 32 located at 21 Hoyle Lane and 957, 959, 969, and 973 Baltimore Annapolis Boulevard, Severna Park from R10 residential to R5 residential.
Ms. Fiedler, this is your amendment. You have the floor.
Thank you, Madam Chair. This is a companion amendment to the previous amendment. Motion to adopt.
Second. Would the administration like to say ditto?
Yes, thank you.
Are there any questions of my colleagues? Seeing none? You didn't want to comment?
No.
Okay. Madam Secretary, please call the roll on amendment number 4 to Bill 2824.
Ms. Rodvian.
Aye.
Ms. Ledbetter.
Aye.
Mr. Smith.
Aye.
Mr. Volkey.
Aye.
Ms. Hummer.
Aye.
Ms. Fiedler.
Aye.
Ms. Pickard.
Aye.
7 in the affirmative, none in the negative. Amendment number 4 to Bill 2824 has been adopted.
Thank you. Both Bill 2724 as amended and Bill 2824 as amended will be heard again on June 3rd, 2024. Okay. Madam Secretary, please read the title of Resolution 15-24.
Resolution 1524, resolution proposing an amendment to the Charter of Anne Arundel County to permit the County Council to increase the minimum value of purchases and contracts subject to a simplified competitive procurement process from greater than $5,000 to greater than $10,000, and increase the minimum value of purchases that are required to be published on the county website from $5,000 or greater to greater than $10,000.
This is an administration resolution. Mr. Hunt, you have the floor.
Thank you, Madam Chair. Ethan Hunt for the administration. With me at the table is Kelly Kenny from the Office of Law. So this resolution was heard at the last council meeting, and it was held for purposes of a possible amendment. So happy to answer any questions. But
Any questions of my colleagues? Thank you for that reminder. My notes say no public hearing, and I'm like racking my brain as to why we don't have a public hearing on this. We don't have any speakers signed up. No questions. Madam Secretary, please read the title of Resolution 15-24.
Just to put on the record, we closed the public hearing at the last meeting, which is why we do not have a public hearing on this resolution this evening.
Thank you. Thank you. Thank you.
I do not need to read the title because we did not have a public hearing.
Thank you. Madam Secretary, please call the roll on Resolution 15-24.
Ms. Rodbian.
Aye.
Ms. Ledbetter.
Aye.
Mr. Smith.
Aye.
Mr. Volkey.
Aye.
Ms. Hummer.
Aye.
Ms. Fiedler.
Aye.
Ms. Pickard.
Aye.
7 in the affirmative, none in the negative. Resolution 1524 has been adopted.
Madam Secretary, please read the title of Resolution 16-24.
Resolution number 1624, resolution approving the appointment of a Severn River Commission member.
This is a... I'm sorry.
Madam Chair, I wanted to make a motion to vote and hear resolutions number 1624, 1724, 1824, and 1924 as a block.
That's up to the council. They're not related. No, they're not all appointments.
All right, I withdraw my motion.
I love the thought process there, but Mr. Hunt.
Thank you, Madam Chair. Resolution 1624 appoints John Zarkowski to a 3-year term on the Severn River Commission. You should all have his resume. He's a resident of the Severn River watershed.
We will now open the public hearing on Resolution 16-24. We have no speakers signed up. Is there anyone here wanting to bring testimony on behalf of Resolution 16-24? Seeing no movement in the audience, the public hearing on Resolution 16-24 is now closed. Madam Secretary, please read the title of Resolution 16-24.
Also, for the record, there was no written testimony submitted for Resolution 1624. Resolution 1624, resolution approving the appointment of a Severn River Commission member.
Seeing no further discussion, Madam Secretary, please call the roll on Resolution 16-24.
Ms. Rodbian.
Aye.
Ms. Ledbetter.
Aye.
Mr. Smith.
Aye.
Mr. Volkey.
Aye.
Ms. Hummer.
Aye.
Ms. Fiedler.
Aye.
Ms. Rodbian. Ms. Pickard.
Aye.
7 in the affirmative, none in the negative. Resolution 1624 has been adopted. My apologies.
Madam Secretary, please read the title of Resolution 17-24.
Resolution number 1724, resolution reappointing a member to the Anne Arundel County Ethics Commission.
This is Mr. Hunt. This is an administration resolution. You have the floor.
Thank you, Madam Chair. Resolution 1724 reappoints Mr. Salon Webb, an unaffiliated voter, to a second term on the Ethics Commission. Mr. Webb has held various executive level positions during his 30-year career in the insurance industry. He's currently a partner at Nexus Insurance Managers, LLC. Previously served as a board member on the Anne Arundel County Public Schools Board of Education and has served a prior term on the Ethics Committee and as well as on the Board of Directors for Maryland Hall for the Creative Arts. Currently serves on the Board of Directors for St. Philip's Family Life Center. He and his family reside in Annapolis and have been residents of the county since 1990.
Any questions? We'll now open the public hearing on Resolution 17-24. Madam Secretary, did we have any testimony?
Yes, Madam Chair, we did have one piece of written testimony submitted for Resolution 1724, but we believe it was for Bill number 2724, so we've added it to the record there.
We'll now call on any individuals in the audience that wish to testify on behalf of Resolution 1724. Seeing no movement in the audience, the public hearing on Resolution 17-24 is now closed. Madam Secretary, please read the title of Resolution 17-24.
Resolution 1724, resolution reappointing a member to the Anne Arundel County Ethics Commission.
Is there any further discussion? Seeing none, Madam Secretary, please call the roll on Resolution 17-24.
Ms. Rodbian.
Thank you for your service, Mr. Webb, and aye.
Ms. Ledbetter.
Aye.
Mr. Smith.
Aye.
Mr. Volkey.
Aye.
Ms. Hummer.
Aye.
Ms. Fiedler.
Aye.
Ms. Pickard.
Aye.
7 in the affirmative, none in the negative. Resolution 1724 has been adopted.
Madam Secretary, please read the title of Resolution 18-24.
Resolution number 1824, resolution nominating a member to serve on the Anne Arundel County Ethics Commission.
This resolution is actually sponsored by myself. This resolution reappoints Mr. Daniel Semick to the County Ethics Commission. His resume has been provided to the council. If there are any questions, we'll now open the public hearing on Resolution 18-24. Madam Secretary, did we receive any online testimony?
No, Madam Chair, we did not.
Is there anyone in the audience wishing to testify on behalf of Resolution 18-24? Seeing no movement in the audience, the public hearing on Resolution 18-24 is now closed. Madam Secretary, please read the title of Resolution number 18-24.
Resolution number 1824, resolution nominating a member to serve on the Anne Arundel County Ethics Commission.
Is there any further discussion? Seeing none, Madam Secretary, please call the roll on Resolution number 18-24.
Ms. Rodbian.
Aye.
Ms. Ledbetter.
Aye.
Mr. Smith.
Aye.
Mr. Volkey.
Aye.
Ms. Hummer.
Aye.
Ms. Fiedler.
Aye.
Ms. Pickard.
Aye.
7 in the affirmative, none in the negative. Resolution 1824 has been adopted.
Madam Secretary, please read the title of Resolution 19-24.
Resolution number 1924, resolution nominating 2 members to serve on the Anne Arundel County Community Reinvestment and Repair Commission.
This resolution is sponsored by myself and Ms. Hummer. This resolution is nominating, as it was stated, 2 members. One is from District 2, Mr. Randall Stites, and Ms. Hummer, is Ms. Powell from your district?
Yes, Ms. Hassan Powell, who is from longtime resident of Maryland City in District 4.
Fantastic. Their resumes and applications have been shared with the council. I urge your support. Madam Secretary, did we receive any testimony on the online testimony tool?
No, Madam Chair, we did not.
We'll now open the public hearing on Resolution 19-24. Seeing no, is there anybody in the audience that wants to testify? Seeing no movement in the audience, the public hearing on Resolution 19-24 is now closed. Madam Secretary, please read the title of Resolution 19-24.
Resolution number 1924, resolution nominating 2 members to serve on the Anne Arundel County Community Reinvestment and Repair Commission.
Thank you. Madam Secretary, please call the roll on Resolution 19-24.
Ms. Rodbian.
Aye.
Ms. Ledbetter.
Aye.
Mr. Smith.
Aye.
Mr. Volkey.
Aye.
Ms. Hummer.
Aye.
Ms. Fiedler.
Aye.
Ms. Pickard.
Aye.
7 in the affirmative, none in the negative. Resolution number 1924 has been adopted.
So in the last at least four resolutions, we have appointed citizens to serve on various boards and commissions. And as the chair of the council, I would just like to say thank you to those willing to serve. It's a vital role to our local government. So is there any business any council member would like to bring before the county council at this time? Seeing none, may I
Motion
have
to
a...
adjourn.
Second.
All in favor of adjourning?
Aye.
Aye. The motion carries. The county council is adjourned until tomorrow, May 21st, 2024 at 9 a.m. when we will meet virtually to continue our department budget presentations. Please check the county website for important information and updates on our meetings. Thank you and have a good night.